Well, hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. My name is Satya, and I'm very excited to welcome you all to the day 2, session 2 of Splendor 2021, which is a virtual, inclusive, and international conference on the future of education. As I said before, my name is Satya. I am a change management consultant based out of London, and I'm your MC for this evening, which basically means that you will be hearing and seeing me very often, and I certainly hope that you and I can be friends. As you may already know, the conference is organized by Silray. A little bit about Silray before we begin. Silray was founded in 2013 with a very simple aim to make learning relevant and fun. I've personally been watching Silray's progress over the years, and cut to 2021 now, the organizers and Silray have really put together a tremendous effort to bring Splendor to you. Splendor has one main idea: to bring and tackle the education landscape that we all can agree is now more dynamic than ever, which means we really need to be bringing people, bringing voices into it to start having these discussions. Splendor, therefore, will bring together exceptional educators, researchers, enthusiasts, parents, basically anybody who's involved in empowering this collaboration to increase the reach, increase the impact, and increase the implementation of breakthrough ideas in this field. It's safe to say that you are in for a treat this evening. You're going to hear from several delegates, all of whom have exceptional experience in this field. I'm personally looking forward for the rest of this evening myself. Before we go on, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for making this possible for us. First up, our main sponsor, Efficacy, who are a biostatistics and statistical programming service provider. Also, Bluebell Schools for Integrated Learning. If you don't know about them already, they are a premier school education provider based out of Gurugram. A shout out also to MBJ Group of Institutions who are sponsoring and partnering with us, and Juvia Bakery. Well, Juvia Bakery, trust me, guys, the photos on the website do make my mouth water. And very strangely, somehow when I'm on the website, I can also smell their freshly baked goods from all the way here. So please do go check them out. I don't want to forget our trusted partners, Jyoti Nivas Autonomous College for supporting us in many ways, and also Brightside Foundation and Ondede. And finally, I'd like to place some special mentions to all our supporters. A few names that I'd like to mention here are Yugi Setu, Hari Nair, Vasu Sir, Damodran Rajalingam, Arun Pradbanaben, and all of the Silray families really for coming together with us on this crazy journey. If you move on to the next slide, I would like to say, take a few moments to really talk about something that's very important for us here in Silray and also in Splendor. We take our code of conduct very seriously. So just as a quick reminder to everybody who's joining us here, please be respectful to one another. Always choose collaboration over conflict. And you're welcome to disrupt ideas, but not meetings. I'd also revisit some ground rules for this session. So on this slide, you have some very basic ground rules. None of it should be breakthroughs for you, but I'd like to remind you of it really quickly. Please stay on mute if you're not speaking. It will ensure that everybody has a very smooth session throughout, as there are several of you on this call. I'd like to please make sure that you are on mute. Please be on time for your sessions if you're attending or you're speaking. Keep your video on, we'd love to see you. And if you do have any questions, you will have several opportunities to interact with us and tell us what you're thinking. But if you do have questions or comments and you'd like to talk, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom so we can see how we can unmute you. Please do come prepared. We'd love a good preparation here at Splendor and in Silray. And of course, as I mentioned before, interact and participate. I will ensure that you will have several opportunities to interact with me, also with our delegates throughout the session. That's all in terms of ground rules for me. And lastly, I just wanted to mention, both for delegates and audience alike, please do note that we do have a packed agenda today that relies heavily on everybody keeping time. And partly that's my responsibility as well. We will be unable to extend any allotted time. But delegates, if you're speaking, don't worry, our team will monitor the time for you, and we will send you reminders as and when you are getting close to your end of time. Right, at this point, I realize I've just given you a lot of information in the last minute, but as I said before, if you and I are going to be friends, I also need to know a little bit about you, our audience. So please take your phone out and join us on Mentimeter. So how to join this session is on the screen right now. All you need to do is go to www.menti.com and enter the code that you can see on the screen. Or if you'd like to engage with tech a little bit more, you can point your phone camera directly at the QR code on the right, and you'll be taken to the Menti site directly. So either ways, we'll just give it a minute or two for people to join, and we'll get to know each other a little better. Right, you have 1 minute to quickly join us on Menti. Again, if you have any difficulty joining, as I said before, you need to go to www.menti.com, enter the code that's on the screen here on the left, 9552-4153, or very simply, you can just point your phone camera at the QR code and you will be directly in the website. Yes, and as you can see on the chat, you can also just simply click on the link if that's easier for you to join. Please look at the Zoom chat window and you'll see the link to join us. Excellent. So welcome everybody to Menti. I'm excited to get to know you. What best describes you? Are you a student? Are you a college student, educator, researcher, or simply an enthusiast who just loves to learn about education, or a parent looking to find out what best for their children? Well, the answers are still coming in. I think, we have 1 minute. So take your time. Let us know who you are. You have about 30 seconds before you need to answer this question. Again, if you have any difficulty joining Menti, you can always go to the chat window. There is a link there. If you click on it, you would be directly here and you can join us in this fun. Okay, that looks a little bit stable. Oop, answers are still coming in. I'll wait 10 more seconds. Okay. That's all the answers we've got. An overwhelming majority of you are educators, our teachers, which is fantastic because that's what we're here to discuss, the future of education. Thank you for joining. We also have a good representation from the others. So thank you for answering that question. Tell us where you're joining from. I'm looking for the name of your city, name of your country, if we don't know the city. Oof, Bangalore is leading the way here. Oh, I've got a few people pinging me from the chat. So we do have somebody from Köln in Germany. Excellent. We've got a few users from the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Ahmedabad. I want to shout out to Ahmedabad. Excellent. Welcome from Chennai as well. Also from the United States. Well, good morning to you. Love it. My screen is just filled with Bangalore. It's amazing to see. What's also interesting is that I've realized that a lot of people use varied spellings of Bangalore. I guess as a country, we're still trying to get used to the new spellings, and it doesn't seem to be the case that a lot of people are sure. We are collectively not sure about Bangalore, how to spell it anymore. Excellent. We're ready for the next question then. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you were able to join us. This is an important one, guys. What are you expecting to take away from this conference? Are you here to network? Learn something new? That's what I'm here for. Present my work that you've been doing in this field, participate in these discussions, collaborate, and perhaps take your idea to the next level with some of these amazing delegates that we have here. Let us know. Thanks, Rajeshwari, for adding us on the chat here. You're here to learn something new, which is great. If you're able to join Menti, you're more than welcome to. You just need to go to the link that's on the chat. So anyone having difficulty joining Menti, you still have a chance to click on the link, join us here, and add your answer to this very colorful chart. Lovely. Loads of people here to learn something new, and I'm certain that you are not going to be disappointed. Excellent. That's fantastic. I'm really glad that everybody has been able to participate. If you're unable to, don't worry, you'll have other opportunities in Menti to interact with us as well. Do keep this skill intact. There will be a few other opportunities during this evening. Speaking of interaction, of course, you're welcome to interact with us too. There is a Q&A section at the end of every speaker that we have. But of course, if you have questions or feedback even during the chat, please use the chat box, as some of you have already been doing, to post them. We will pick up the questions during the Q&A section, not during the session. Don't want to interrupt the flow. But if there are questions that we're unable to for paucity of time, then please do come back to the Splendor or Silray website in a few days, and we'll be sure to post your answers there. Excellent. Okay, with all that under the belt, that's majority of the key things that I needed to get across before we can really deep dive into the session. The time has now come for me to introduce to you our session host, Raji. Raji is part of the Silray army, guys, so she's an insider, and her secret weapon is her love for teaching. Raji has been teaching for several years, teaching and mentoring kids of different age groups. And she says she's happiest when she's in a room full of children eager to learn. So Raji, over to you.
Thank you, Satya. Hi, all. Extending a warm welcome from Silray to one and all present here at Splendor 2021, a virtual, inclusive, international conference on the future of education. I'm Raji here, wishing you all a very beautiful afternoon. Whether cloudy or rainy, yellow alert or orange alert, it is still a very beautiful afternoon because I'm looking at lovely faces here with beautiful smiles, eagerly waiting for the session to unfold. Had it not been a virtual conference, we would have had glorious get-together over lunch served hot, during which we would have had shared our knowledge and visiting cards to connect later. This is the whole idea of a conference, right? To bring together like-minded people, share thoughts, and make new collaboration. I'd like you all to take this opportunity. Just because it is virtual, let us not miss out on this personal connect. Let's take this opportunity. Please leave a message now on the chat box here if you want to connect with any of the dignitaries, speakers, amazing delegates, or panelists. Leave your mail ID too so that Silray can bring you together. I'm giving you a few minutes to please open your chat box. Thank you. Let us all get back to our conference on the future of education. What is education? Because I'm seeing a lot of educators in this session. What is education? A child without education is like a bird without wings, says a Tibetan proverb. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, said Nelson Mandela. So what is education? School education, college education. Is education passing an examination and getting a degree? Is education just studying? Like I'm studying for my geography exam. I'm studying for my board exams. Which class are you studying? Is education passing an examination and getting a degree? Yes? No? Maybe what makes a child gifted and talented may not always be studying and getting good grades in the school. It's but a way of looking at the world and learning. The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you will go. The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, more places you will go. Right, Dr. Suez? Here, learning is the key word. The learning process is so important because it results in new knowledge that opens up our minds to new perspectives, new ideas, and new solutions. The goal of education should be advancement of knowledge, enriching our brains with new valuable information, improves our ability to think, process, analyze the world around us. So education should be the advancement of knowledge got through the process of learning. And this knowledge is going to be rich if the learning was experiential and fun. What? I can see the expression on some faces saying, how can learning be fun? Can learning be fun? What is fun? Corporates nowadays are bringing in fun theory in their workplaces. Let us see one example for us all to understand the impact that fun can have on effectiveness. As a part of fun theory, Volkswagen turned a staircase into a giant, fully functioning piano keyboard. This experiment went out to show that fun can change the way people behave in a situation. If corporates can have fun, why not little kids? Silray was born out of this desire, a desire to make learning relevant, available, experiential, and fun. Tilray believes that if children are given meaningful opportunities or introduced to activities that make learning engaging, they are happy to participate or willing to explore. The willingness, the happiness, and participation while learning help students retain their information better because the whole process is so enjoyable and memorable. Once this mindset is set, the learners become self motivated and continue their learning for the rest of their lives. Silde conceptualizes and designs learning programs which help individuals unlearn, unleash, and unlimit. All our programs are meticulously structured. At Silray, we break up lessons, offer choices, incorporate games, have group time, use technology, use hands on activities, and kindle the creativity. I can go on and on about Silray because that's my favorite topic. Just see what Silray has made me into, a music teacher turned into a marketing lead. Uh, let's instead see how Silray can connect you all. For those who have logged in late, you are all well aware about the dignitaries present here. Please open your chat box and let us know whom you want to connect with. Add your email ID. Silray will be more than happy to connect you. Education has seen fundamental changes in the past few years. Assessments and exams are happening differently. More and more technology are making headway into the classrooms. These changes are here to stay. Children are smarter when it comes to technology, and educators have to pick up new skills and stay updated. Silray wanted to bring together these academia, ideators, businesses, researchers, students, parents, and other stakeholders to build awareness around these new developments and hold important dialogues in the education space. Hence, here we are at Splendor 2021, a virtual, inclusive, international conference on the future of education. With hundreds of interesting people present here from yesterday, we have been discussing various topics on education, its sustainability, the resource needed to develop and strengthen the skills through eminent speakers, panel discussions, and also have watched a powerful movie on inclusion. In this session, we will discuss about the splendid ways of volunteering for inclusion. We will get to know what we mean by accessibility. A fireside chat about designing learning for accessibility is much awaited for. There are going to be paper presentations. We will also be listening and participating in a wonderful panel discussion on blended, personalized, and tech in learning. Blended learning is an approach to education that combines the best of the two training environments. Here, let me take a few moments to share my personal experience. I'm a music learner and teacher who is learning and teaching music in both traditional and blended ways. Learning music happened till the 1900s through Gurukula Vasam, where the students stayed in a guru's house, grew up in the atmosphere 24/7. Practice rigor and strict discipline were instilled by the guru. The creative part, like the nuances of any raga, intricate nerval phrases, or the mind-blowing permutation combinations of swaras, were learned through listening and listening only. The student was always alert to grasp, as these creative parts cannot be taught. They have to be observed and absorbed. Late 1900s saw students traveling to Guru's residence after or before their school hours. I belong to this era where I got to stay with my parents, had other subjects and teachers, but still learned music from a guru. We would go to our guru's house carrying the music notebooks, tape recorders, and sets of batteries, safeguarding our precious notebooks from the rains, from getting it crumpled in the crowded bus. Yes, the most precious of any music student would be their music notebooks. Hours were spent on listening to the concerts happening in that village in the neighboring village or the city surroundings to enhance our knowledge on Manodharma or the mathematics of Neravella Swarakalpana. But now, for the same Manodharma, Neravella Swarakalpana, music recordings with stalwarts are available in SoundCloud, Spotify, or any such app, which the students can listen to how many ever times they want. And teaching music with Zoom, Skype, and other technologies, learners can switch to their music class just after any other work and connect to their Guru. Guru is there with you wherever you are. The notations for the music lessons are scanned and sent as PDF for the students. Classes are recorded digitally. Classes are video recorded. How cool is that? What a boon for the instrumentalists. As I have mentioned, I'm a music teacher who is learning and teaching both in traditional and blended ways. When I was in school, I have attended the music lessons traveling a few kilometers for a few minutes by bus. But here, from 2006, I have taken my music classes spending 4 hours on travel alone. The hours I put in for my music learning is now capsuled and given in minutes of teaching to my students by appearing on their laptop. Sishyas connect to the Guru instantaneously. But is that Guru Shishya bond? Is there that beautiful, calm, serene atmosphere without getting disturbed by a ping from the friends or family or an alarm going off for the next class? What about the precious handwritten notes which has our Guru's correction here and there? And the thrill of guessing the raga sung or played at a concert? Without much delay, let us listen to the learning many ways and get into the discussion and hear what our expert panel has to say on blended, personalized, and tech in learning. Over to you, Satya, to introduce our dignitaries. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Raji. I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't stopped smiling since you've been talking. And also I can see the smiles on and nods from so many of the people who are still on video. So, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me was that fun can really change the way people are learning and make it more effective. And like you said, Silray was designed to do that. And I bet Splendor was designed to do that as well, which is why I'm here. It's part of my job description to make sure that you're not only learning, but also having fun along this way, at least this afternoon. A lot of you people said you're here to learn something new. So let's hope we can have fun while we're doing this. Thank you, Rajiv. And for anyone who has joined us in the last few minutes, I just want to extend a welcome to you all as well for this day 2 and session 2 of Splendor 2021, which is a virtual and inclusive and international conference on the future of education. Welcome. You're just in time for our first event of this session, which means time has now come for me to make this introduction that I'm very excited to do. Our first speaker is Sharada Chandrasekhar. She has over 40 years of experience in the education space, which is tremendous. During this time, she's led various amazing educational institutions during this time, training educators, teachers, designing educational programs, influencing key decisions across the board. I've read her bio on the website and it is impressive. But my favorite thing about her, she is a trained dancer in 7 classical forms and can also command the waltz and salsa. So Sharada ma'am, thank you for joining us here, and over to you for our session on learning many ways.
Thank you so much, Satya, for reminding me that I'm a dancer. Okay, for past 5 years, I have forgotten otherwise. And I'm also a theater person. So I bring in theater, dance, everything to the classrooms. Okay, I learned all these things to bring into the classrooms. Can I share the screen for one slide before I go on? May I?
Okay.
Okay. If I'm enabled, okay. Otherwise, I'll start, and whenever it is ready, I'll take it up. Okay. I'm known storyteller. Okay. Without story, I think my mouth gets sealed and I cannot talk and all that. So a small anecdote from Ramayana, I would like to say. It seems after Rama met his 2 children, Lava and Kusha, and he lost his wife. So one day he had an interaction with his sons. So they asked him, I believe, how did you learn, or whatever you have learned? You have been, you're seen, you are the God for many people, okay? And you are the God. How did you become that God from a human being? They asked, I believe. This is somebody's fiction I read, so I'm sharing with you all. So it seems Rama said, I was a human being. Even now I'm a human being. Only thing is, I tell you how I learned. Till my 14th year, I went to Gurukul and I learned all that Guru taught me. And we experienced, we worked, we observed, we discussed, okay, and auditory, visual, everything we used. We became good learners. 14 years, I came back. 16th year, Vishwamitra told my father that I should accompany him to the forest. My father refused, but my guru told my father, send, he will learn more. So me and my brother, when we went to the forest, we learned through our experience what every leaf talks, what every twig tells, what every tribal type tries to communicate to us, what is this nature is going to teach us, and what is that we need to learn, what is that we need to retain, and what is that we need to use for our own welfare, and how we need to live in the nature, which helped me when I went for exile. And when I went to exile, this experience made me feel very comfortable there in Panchavati. Then when I went to the ocean, every droplet taught me that how I have to treat so that I can cross and walk over it. When I went to Lanka, the great king of Lanka taught me that how to make use of the resources to turn into gold, how to be a great learner and a great pandit. When I lost your mother to the forest, I learned that in the question of maintaining a leadership, I had to lose somebody whom I love most. So when you are a leader, it is your kingdom matters more. It is your people matter more than your own kith and kin. And your mother taught that self-respect is more important than anything by not accepting. So I'm learning from both of you that where you're born doesn't matter, but the humility matters and acceptance matters. Living away from somebody we love matters, and accepting people as they are matters. So from everybody I learned, each and every situation I learned, he said, I believe. It's a great observation by somebody. Now, each one of us learn through different situations. Each one of us learn through experiences. And when we go to the classroom, we expect everybody to learn only through one way. But when we see a classroom, the classroom has multiple learners, and every learner adds to our own experience. And when they learn to add to our own experience, then we become a more and more better learners. So it is that who is learning? Are we learning or are they learning? Or together we are learning. That's the most important part. And multiple intelligences, all of us know there are 8 main ways of learning. We all know, I think by now it has become a completely ghissy-pitty topic that everybody tells you that who is an auditory learner, who is a visual learner, who is a kinesthetic learner. We know about it. But recently I went to this particular site and I saw this excellent takeaway here. There are actually 4 kinds of learners if you put everyone together. One is that 35% of the learners are called mastery learners, I believe. They are actually very aggressive learners. They try to absorb every new information in step-by-step process. Very, very systematic lot of people they are. And they are very clear about their objectives. And they actually organize the whole lot of things in a very simplistic manner, like a mind map comes to their mind when they are learning. And they believe in practical application. And there are 35% of them in our classes like that. So when you are going, keep this in mind. The second set of them is another 35% of them. They are actually understanding learners. They have an innate way of asking 101 questions. They're the most inquisitive lot. And they also, they are learning with all the reasoning. and they are very logical. Keep this lot also in mind. Then the third ones are 18% interpersonal learners. Through discussions, they learn. I love to discuss and I love to experiment. I learn by listening. I learn by talking, because when I talk, somebody else adds to my knowledge. So these are that lot. Then comes self-expressive learners. There are 12% of them. And these types of learners depend on their feelings and what they see in material to absorb things. They are very artistic. I tell you one thing. There are two anecdotes I want to tell before I conclude. I have a 6-year-old grandson who asked me, how did you travel from Hyderabad to Bengaluru recently? I said, I came by flight. He said, which flight? I said, Indigo. He said, I'm not asking you the company which is running. I'm asking you the brand. What is the make? I said, I don't know. He said, Party, you should know. Don't you ask which car you are going by? You're saying no, then don't you ask whether the car has a seat raise, whether how does the car go? You're seeing the engine like that. You should know about the flight you're traveling. Surprised, 6-year-old. Then I heard a story. The story is my conclusion here for all of us to understand how to take the class. It seems a 6-year-old girl every day went to a temple, very silently stood in the temple with folded hands, mumbled something, smiled, and went away. Day on day, for 15 days, 20 days, this went on. And that pujari there got very intrigued and surprised. And he wanted to know, what is this girl every day mumbling? And why does she smile like that? So on the 21st day, he went to the kid and asked, I'm very, very intrigued. What is that you're mumbling? Then she said, no, my father said, whatever are the prayers, they're very silent. You're not supposed to share with anybody. He said, it doesn't matter. I'm God's own servant. So I'll carry it on to him. Please tell me, what is that? I'm really intrigued. I'm curious to know. Then this girl said, I believe my father said that I should pray silently. So I come here and I'll chant A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H till Z. And I tell him that whatever I want to ask you, it is there in this A to Z. Just you take the way I need to chant the sloka and convert that, but actually see to that. Today I will be happy. Today I will get my chocolates. Today I'll get everything so that my day is fulfilled. Darlings, we are dealing with such smart lot. They are into these 4 categories. They're interpersonals. They are very inquisitive lot. Okay, they are very aggressive and they are very artistic. And if we keep these 4 in the class, prepare ourselves accordingly, have used different kinds of methodologies, get different kinds of methods, create the classroom ambience, smile, accept their questions. If we do not know, we tell them, okay, I'll come back tomorrow, and definitely we'll go back tomorrow and give them the answer. So that fun factor, which Raji ma'am was talking, will be there in the class. And if we don't know, and tell them, oh my God, I don't know, can you tell me? That makes them get more thrilled, because they'll say the teacher doesn't know, but I told the teacher. And if we can carry this fun factor with us, I'm telling you, the classrooms will become extremely, extremely enjoyable. Today's children are very well informed. We are only facilitators. And if we can keep 1 or 2 surprises for them, throw it once a while, through our expression, through our facilitation, they will become the best learners. There are many ways they learn. It's only that we need to understand. And these 4 are the main. Thank you for listening. You're all such lovely, lovely, lovely audience. Thank you to entire Splendor and Silray for giving me this opportunity. I'm really honored to be there on the same platform with people like Mr. Vijay and other team here. Thanks a lot for listening patiently.
Thank you, ma'am. I mean, what can I say? I've been listening to you quite intently. And I think your 6-year-old grandson has the right idea. And I'm so glad that he was able to not only join you in inspiring all of us. So thanks to you. And also please pass on our thanks to him as well. We have some time for some questions. So guys, if you do have questions for Sharada ma'am, please do post them on the chat window. I hope you're able to see the chat, ma'am, because I'm also seeing a lot of feedback from people. So exactly. I'm waiting to see if there are any questions. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you'd like me to just read the question out for everybody who's not able to see the chat, this one is from Fatima. What are some tips, tricks, and practices that educators can take up that will enhance the learning experience for everybody?
What I would like to say is that first know your class component well. Okay. And when I'm talking about component, how many of them are aggressive? How many of them are understanding? How many of them are artistic? And how many of them are interpersonal? And go to the class with a pre-planned lesson plan, which you know that you are going to engage them with different activities for the same concept. It is possible. We are doing it in our school, and my darling teachers come up with more and more such ideas when they are doing it. And it's only that we need to spend a little more time initially in planning this. Once we do that, like for example, we are using cafe conversations. If we are using World Cafe, every team has their own contribution in their own way, and the teacher makes them compile together and do the presentation. So it's a fantastic way, and children love to do that. Even Four Corners, that case, or your Jigsaw puzzle. All these things will involve everybody. And first thing is that we have to go with a positive mind and ask them, okay, let us have a discussion. Let us have a talk. Let us draw on this. Okay, let us see what we can actually hear closing our eyes. In a blindfolded manner, we'll just listen to some voice. Thanks to Vasanti ma'am for exposing us to this kind of a listening auditory way of learning. So all these things are different tricks which I can talk, which makes the children really enjoy and add lot of theater. Okay, every teacher should be a theater person. I always say that we should be a little bit, there should be a little bit of a Shivaji Ganeshan in us. Is that no? We'll do a little bit of an overaction. I don't say Amma, but I'll say Amma. So everybody will understand. Okay, is calling mother. Okay, so that kind of a little overaction must be there for everybody to carry a little bit with them. And I have a lot of respect for Shivaji Ganeshan. I'm an ardent fan of Shivaji Ganeshan ji. Okay, so we carry this. If you want everybody to do that, we need to do a little bit of an overaction. Our face should talk about it. We should be expressive, and that makes the class very enjoyable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to take a few more questions as we can. The next one is from Devyani. What are some ways of learning that you envision will happen in the future that are perhaps not in practice today?
Number one is already blended came in mind in this thing. And next goals will be that we will be more and more on tech-based learning. But what I understand, okay, that the people connect will become important. Physical educators will become the school directors, because physical education will become the most important aspect of learning, because otherwise the children are constantly seated in the chair. So every school, maybe learning happens in some other way, but for the sake of physical interaction, emotional quotient, they come to school, and the school infrastructure will be more for this kind of interaction happens. And this is for the mental health and physical connect. This actually 10 years down the lane. 40 years ago, what we are doing is not there. And today we have seen this. And 10 years after, I can definitely see that the schools will be more for emotional connect, and that IQ will come only through this kind of a technology.
Absolutely, ma'am. I can totally vouch for that. And I'm sure all of us can also do. We didn't just go to school to learn maths and science and geography, but we also learned how to make friends, how to share our things, how to win fights, how to negotiate. So I can totally understand that. I think we have time for a few more questions. So I'm going to go through this list. Speaking of collaboration, how can educators work towards collaborating so they can share their mutual expertise?
I have the best example, Dr. Vasanti Tyagarajan. She is the one who used to give, even today, she gives everything she has. Okay, whatever knowledge, I believe that it comes only by sharing. If I give, I get back. And the more I get, the more knowledge I get. If I keep one idea for myself, it is only one idea. But the moment I share it in this group, there will be 50 people working on this particular idea, and they make it happen better. So normally collaboration makes learning better. What I know is doubled by sharing. Okay, every school must keep their USP close to their heart, keep it there. Do not share your USP. Share your best practices, because your best practice becomes the benchmarking for somebody else. And with that benchmarking, every time they look into that, they will refer you. Like the way I talk about Dr. Vasanthi Tyagarajan, anything that we ask her, she'll immediately share. She will not say that this cannot happen or this I will not do. So wherever I am, I salute to her. And I believe in that. Giving is more for taking.
Thank you, ma'am. And there are a few more questions, but in the interest of time, I'm going to pause for now and move on to the next session. But thank you once again for sharing this, sharing your experience with us and inspiring all of us to think about how education can be presented in many ways. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I loved this session, and it's a pleasure being there with all the learned people. I learned whatever I can, and I carry quite a lot from every such event. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for people who have posted questions that we were not able to take up, don't worry. Again, as I said, you can come back to the website a few days later, and I'm sure you'll find your answers there. But thanks for posting your question. Before I move on to our next session, I just want to invite Parth, who would like to say a few words.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, all good.
So my topic is why I feel coding is really important, like while studying in education. So one day I was talking to my friend about coding. This is how the conversation goes. So I met my friend. She asked me, "Hey, how are you? What are you doing?" I said, "Hey, I'm coding." She said, "Oh, what is coding?" Coding, I said, coding is giving instructions to the computer. So she said, "Wait, it is my turn. I'll give the instruction to the computer. Hey computer, open my Firefox. It is through some languages which the computer understands." So she said, "Oh, okay, will you teach me?" I'm like, "Sure." People need help in so much things where people are not there, like people are not around you to help. So coding is there for you. So some points I would like to prove that coding is there for you, like you will have creativity to create new ideas to other solutions. And second point is you will have a lot of thoughts which will help you solve problems in which there might be many ideas too. You will get knowledge about computers. So what we say, yeah. So when we code, we just use two numbers, which is 0 and 1. We code through them. And some languages of coding are, first one Java, second is JavaScript, third is Scratch, and fourth is Python. I thank you all to listen to my speech. I hope you like my point.
Thank you so much, Parth. It was really lovely seeing you, and thank you for telling us about coding. It was really great. Thank you. Guys, it's time for me to move on to the next event of this session. Our next session will bring to you several leading voices from tech in learning, right? I mean, it's safe to say we're having a virtual conference. After all, technology is all around us. From the very first time, if you remember when we typed "Hello World" on a computer, remember that time? Or maybe the first time we created a PowerPoint slide and thought, wow, this is cutting edge. Well, tech has always been a major factor in not only how we live our lives, but mainly how it comes to how we learn. And it will continue to do so. Tech is not going away anywhere. So our panel of speakers here will explore tech in learning and try and answer some key questions like, is it productive really to spend so much time in tech? Is it healthy to do that? Will we turn into robots if we spend too much time with our computers and gadgets? More importantly, is tech inclusive? So we're going to be talking about some of these questions. We're going to be talking about how technology is now coming to play an even more major role in our lives. And to do that, our panel is present, and impressively, our panel has a collective experience, if you're ready for it, of 70 years of experience in education. That's tremendous. Like, I was going through the list of the panelists, which you can now see on the slide, and it is astounding the collective experience that you are going to be presented with right now. I'd like to introduce the panels for you before we move on. First up, we have Padma Shankar. Padma is passionate about learning methods, right? Learning methods that keep learner at the center, not the teacher at the center. She spent over 2 decades in this field trying to do just that. Her teaching experience alone would take me several minutes to elaborate, but please do go to her website and read that in detail. She has taught in Chennai, in Delhi, and in South Africa, covering a wide variety of subjects like economics, business studies, maths, English, geography, entrepreneurship. So thank you, Padma, for being here. Our next panelist is Soumya Gulati. She is a learning evangelist with over 27 years of experience. Amazing. Her association with the Bluebells group of schools, who is one of our main sponsors, goes back to over 17 years, during which she established the Learning Center, from where today she leads a team of educators. And we also have Vijaya Rao. She has first-hand experience in working with children who have learning difficulties. She started off as a volunteer at the Spastic Society of Karnataka before joining the organization, now as a special educator, then as a computer teacher. She spent over 20 years in this organization and comes with tremendous amount of experience in trying to make learning more accessible for people who have special needs. She's currently the head of computer training and assistive technology. And to moderate the panel, we have Vijay Krishna Rajagopal. Vijay is the director of Center for Learning, Leadership and Excellence, also known as CLLE. He's also the director of Vidyaniketan Group of Institutions in Bangalore. And particularly his work at CLLE is very interesting to me. His vision basically is to develop innovative practices that create well-skilled capacity and also a community sense amongst educators. Safe to say he is a technology enthusiast, sure, but he has a vision for technology that it blends with expertise and also adds empathy from the faculty. And that is a really powerful combination. And that is what will make, learning more meaningful and more enriching as a journey for students and educators alike. So please join me in welcoming the panel. I will now leave you in Vijay's capable hands.
Thank you so much, Satya. Thank you for a wonderful introduction to the entire panel. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Silray for coming up with a wonderfully themed conference, especially on the future of education. And at a time like this, when there has been a lot of innovation that's been happening within schools, especially when it comes to learning. Today's topic for the panel discussion is blended, personalized, and tech in learning. I'm really fortunate to be moderating a session where we have some erudite researchers, educators who are going to be talking more about all of these aspects. I would now like to, invite the panelists to come out with their opening remarks. I think 2 minutes would be in order for them to briefly make a statement about the theme of the panel discussion and the theme of the conference at large. May I now invite the panelists to speak and present their opening remarks. Padma ma'am, do you want to go first?
Sure. Am I on mute?
No, ma'am, you're not.
Yeah, okay. Right. See, I have my experience and I'm going to talk about personalized learning as tools. The personalized learning is a tool in the blended learning space. So there are these tools and I'm very sure the creativity of the teachers in using these tools to bring out what they want to into the classroom. Now, a world where personalized learning will be the norm will be one where learning will be individualized, definitely. And also, very importantly, the pace of learning will be optimized. So I would like to make that my statement. And then I will carry on with what tools would help in a blended learning space, in the blended learning space, to bring this about.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Optimize learning.
Thank you so much. May I now invite Soumya ma'am to make her opening remarks?
Namaskar, everyone. Well, blended learning, we've been hearing about it for years, I would say. And what brought it round was the pandemic. However, the pandemic, we all responded to a crisis. It was a crisis response. It was more of an online mode happening right at the go, which we all needed to do. And it was good it happened. It's only been over a period of time that we've been able to bring about and are still bringing about blended learning in its true sense. And when we talk of blended learning in its true sense, it is not just purely content acquisition in an online mode. It is about things happening more in a synchronous nature. It is about all skills being incorporated in the entire curriculum framework. Like blended learning, you cannot just pick up any ready-made curriculum and decide to implement it there. It is a completely a different curriculum design where all your rubrics, your lesson plans, they all have to be accommodated and modified to suit the online and the offline model, and also ensure, just as face-to-face teaching has always ensured, that there is a hidden skill curriculum in the broader curriculum framework. So all your skills, be it collaboration, communication, creativity, your thirst for inquiry. So we are able to harness all those skills of the children if we really want to take it forward. And yes, it is here to stay. It is the future of education. And I would definitely elaborate upon it, on how it takes us forward when it comes to the future. But yes, all your true implements and can only be successful with a solid agreement with the parents. All stakeholders are equally important, and technology now is the fourth stakeholder in terms of education. That's my opening remark. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Everyone will definitely agree that the pandemic has accelerated learning across all quarters, and that there is an increased impetus for people to understand how personalized learning and hybrid learning can come into the classrooms. At this point, I'd like to invite Vijaya ma'am to present her opening remarks about the theme of the panel discussion.
Good afternoon. Let's first ask ourselves, why does this topic matter to learners with special needs? Because these technologies empower our children through lifelong inclusion in society, and it's a powerful force for their self-actualization. Personalized or assistive technology, may it be low-tech, mid-tech, or high-tech, is a must while mainstreaming our children, as they require various kinds of technology and other help to support and help them to be educated or to be included in a normal schools. It can be related, ask for a slide to be put in at this time. Okay, I'll talk about it later. It can be, the tech can be related to eating, sitting, mobility, reading, writing, technology, or communication. Each diverse learner is unique, and solution at individual levels will support them to be on par with the class. Some of the pictures you see are low technology, but still technology need not be high-end to make a big difference in our children. Bright students with special needs who can be included in mainstream schools and colleges need tech support for their day-to-day life and for educational purposes. At the same time, complete inclusion is very difficult. We can try our best to include learners with special needs with different learning needs using technology and other means. It requires training not only the learners but also the teacher, the peers, and other personnels involved in it. It is a big challenge. I can sum up by saying, when used appropriately, technology provides support for independence, it bridges the gap, it develops social skills and communication skills, and it reduces distraction in children. That's my opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for that. It's definitely set the pace for the kind of discussion that is about to ensue. The general format that we had kind of deliberated, which we would be following in today's panel discussion, is that I would be trying to pose some leading questions, and I would invite the various perspectives about that particular question, and then we will see how the discussion leads forward. So as my first leading question, see, it is quite obvious that education today has witnessed a paradigm shift. And when we look at schools, when we look at the educational spaces, every school will definitely say that it's taking a varied approach to learning. Now, in this context, where and how do you think blended learning fits in the whole gamut of things that have been happening in the educational space? Anybody's?
Yeah,
First.
I'll go first because I feel that when I'm talking about personalized learning, I would define personalized learning as something that plugs the gaps in the learning of the individual learner. Now, this will sound as though, for a long time, personalized learning has been something associated with the remedial instruction, or for special needs. You have after-school programs. That's where you have these, okay, they are slow learners, they have not up to the mark, and therefore they need to go. That is a myth that has to be broken, because we have to bring that into mainstream classroom. And for doing that into mainstream classroom is where you come into a blended learning space, where you have all these different tools available. So I think here the mindset of the teacher and the ability of the administrator to allow the teacher creativity to come into the classroom helps a lot, and need not necessarily be very high tech. There are simple things. So like Sarada ma'am before this talked about the 4 major learning. So we have a classroom full of students who are different at different learning levels. So we have, so I would actually say that personalized learning is a tool that is in the hands of the teacher, and to use it into a blended classroom. So a blended classroom would look like a small mini lesson from the teacher one-to-one, and then a rotating platform where the students are allowed to do some independent work based on the skill the teacher has taught. And there can be some other students who did not understand all the nuances when the teacher taught, to be going into online, viewing the teacher's lesson again, because all the technology allows you to record the teacher's voice, listen to her several times. Like even the children told us, you can just plug in and you can listen to the class once again, what your teacher was telling you just when you are trying to figure out something. And so all this in one place, and you are having it, and children just moving around. It's a wonderful platform where everything can happen, and you can see that everybody is learning and everybody is engaged. All the students are engaged. There is no question of some people being bored and some people going ahead. So everybody seems to be, and it should be allowed to, every learner is allowed to learn at the level that he wants it, at the pace that he wants to learn, which is what it should be. Because even philosophy on education has always told us that learning or teaching, I mean, nothing can be at all taught. It has to be caught. That's what that is the main essence. And so here the teacher's responsible, and I am sure I have my on all the creativity that the teachers have. This is going to be a wonderful. So one of the tools, personalized tool, which can enter into blended this thing, and with the pandemic, this has made teachers more acceptable to technology and online learning. So the flipped classroom method, where the teacher posts her this thing, and the flipped classroom method is different from a traditional one, where you at home you listen to the talk that you are going to lesson, you learn the lesson, and then you come and actually apply this what you learned in the lesson in the classroom, or do the exercises in the classroom under teacher supervision. That's what one I would find, and I think I'm sure Soumya ma'am would be able to add on how easy it is or how difficult it is to bring it into the classroom. Yeah.
I completely concur with you. I think Soumya ma'am has already started. Please carry on.
I will just add to where Padma ma'am left. Well, ma'am, everything easy also comes with its own set of difficulties and challenges. And I think that's the beauty of those challenges. Well, looking at personalized learning, where Padma ma'am left, what I would just want to add to that is that what happens when it, especially for a personalized learning, be it in a blended model or in a face-to-face model alone, what one does is, like in your curriculum framework, you have the age-appropriate year-end milestones drafted. Now, those are the benchmarks, those are the milestones which the children are expected to reach. And at their own pace, we have those tasks and activities devised in such a manner that each child at his or her own pace, as per their own capability, it is nothing about low or high. The activities are designed in that manner at different levels. And I don't want to use the word grades, the different levels, worksheets, activities, their collaborative tasks, the peer work, the group work. So the child goes through all that along with content acquisition happening. The content is where acquisition is happening. The children are learning through hands-on learning. You're bringing in multiple intelligences, because after all, we are catering to different learning styles also. Some child may learn in a kinesthetic manner. Some may prefer to learn through music. So we have your tasks, we have the tasks. That's where the educator's role is very important, that the tasks are designed to suit different learning styles, and children have an option to pick up that learning style, and at the end, measuring it to the desired, leading it to the desired milestones. So through that process, the child learns, and it is personalized learning happening, catering to each and everyone's individual needs. And as ma'am said, it's high time we moved away from looking at it from a remedial point of view.
Yeah.
When we talk of personalized learning, it means learning for all. So normally it is a tendency, if a child, like one tends to look at children who are average or below average. No, we have to keep those children also engaged who may wrap up a task in 2 minutes, which otherwise may have been designed for 5 minutes. So it has to be a very, very engaging model. And this is exactly when you are drafting your curriculum for a blended learning model, these things have to be kept in mind if we want our blended learning model to suit personalized learning also. And coming to your question, Vijay, in which you said the learning spaces in a blended learning model, how would they look at? Well, a given thing is you have to have a digital platform, which I think today is the easiest thing to procure. Next comes in your comfortability of your educators and the parents and the students with that platform. Because believe me, it is all parents have their own anxiety levels. It's not to say that since there's a huge digital divide in India, that it's the remote areas which parents feel this challenge, of procuring. There is the challenge of procuring. In the urban cities, in progressive schools, there are challenges like when actually the parents are wary, my child is spending so much time on screen. And screen time somehow has always been associated with children getting being lured into a world of uncalled, unforeseen risks. So that is something which you have to, have a good agreement. When I mentioned in my opening remark with the parents, there has to be a proper policy, protocols laid out of what the child will be allowed to. In fact, I want to mention one thing, that right from an early age, we tend to tell children, okay, Google this, just as it would be said, read this. Well, we also have Kiddle as a search engine, which, is more age appropriate for the little ones and slightly tends to keep away certain sites which Google may open on its own. So these are the kind of things, plus even do a cyber hygiene orientation with parents and students. Cyber hygiene, you following protocols, what can be the, I would say, what circumstances can you land up into it, and what can, be the after effects of it. So all this agreement has to be there in the blended learning model. And also, if I look at the future of education, we have moved to mobile labs. I see blended learning bringing into school education simulation labs. Through this pandemic, we've seen of how we've had exchange programs internationally. Here we are sitting on an international conference, cutting down cost of travel, cutting down time of travel. So the kind of these exchange programs which we can have globally, our school has gone ahead and done that with so many schools across India and even abroad. So, it's like, it's also a cross-cultural exchange happening. So these are some of the things where blended learning, which I feel where in the future it can lead into. And well, that's my submission on it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I just come in 1 minute here?
Yes, ma'am.
And taking in on what Soumya was saying about we telling the children Google it up, and therefore, and the screen time. What I am very happy about is that the textbooks have become online now. I mean, so you don't have to tell the student to Google it up. You just go, the textbooks are all online. Textbooks are all coming to life with artificial intelligence. You have the textbooks on the screen, and somebody is reading it out to you. The description is all coming in the form of diagrams. So the child is already engaged. So you don't know the answer. Your textbook is right there. So so this becomes like a homework. And in this, I want to mention that this need not necessarily be for the urban progressive schools. I am very delighted with the government launching the Diksha app. The Diksha app by NCERT and Ministry for Human Resource. It's a lovely, here is where your state boards have all their textbooks online, and there are video lessons. Even catering, I would not mention, but I would like this to mention that in the Tamil Nadu textbooks, they have in their language learning, they have questions where poetry has to be learnt and they have to quote from memory. So if the poem comes out alive with somebody singing the lines, so that it makes the child learn. Taking you back to how when you were infants, you were learning your nursery rhymes, or for the matter, when you're listening to your favorite playback singer, how well you can learn the song. So it is not necessarily that the screen time that the child spends is on dubious or something. If it's teacher directed, and the teacher says, yeah, here it is. And then I'm sure the moment the learner is inquisitive, the curiosity of the learner will drive him towards what he wants to learn, rather than, how long? Maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes or something he'll spend on other things, but he'll get back on track. I'm quite, and I'm also very upbeat about the teacher's creativity in creating a classroom with a very not very aggressive technology, but with a limited technology, but making it engaging, making classroom so that everybody is engaged. It's possible. It is to be, please.
Blended Tech caters to learners of different needs in the classroom. What we do in our school is, after a lesson is completed in the class, the whole thing is shown as a video. So there are learners who are not able to understand when you just speak about, the teacher stands there and talk about it, which many of them are not able to understand. When you present it in a video mode, the children get a full experience of it. And also there are some children who are not exposed to outside world much. They come to school, they go home. For such children, it is always better to show it, project it on a projector and show it in big scale. It helps them to understand and comprehend better, and they enjoy the learning experience.
Thank you all so much.
Very true.
I think, if you look at the kind of responses that have come out, it's quite obvious that personalization is not just remediation. And I think Soumya ma'am said it right, that it's learning for all, where every school has the independence to kind of set the context, keeping in mind the kind of learners that there are in it, and then design the learning interventions that are most appropriate to the audience in question. Thank you all so much for that response. Of course, you spoke a lot more, kind of throwing me off gear with the questions that I had in tow, but I think that's how emergent conversations usually happen. So I'll kind of scuttle and try to find the next possible leading question to all of you. We have spoken about, personalization of experiences, and in a world that is dominated by consumerism, every one of us, has experienced it in some form or factor when we've looked at Amazon or Flipkart, suggesting the next item that we should buy. Now, when we are talking of personalization, especially in the context of learning and education, what do you think a typical school is going to look like in the future? Considering that, the conference is also talking about the future of education, it may just be right to spend some time thinking about it and eliciting your responses for the same.
If I may just respond to that, I think in my previous question, I mentioned that as I perceive from the city of Gurugram, the future of education, definitely we look at simulation labs, what I mentioned. And why I am saying this is also because, it's not just blended learning. I'm looking at it, especially at certain crucial days of how, like all of you must be aware of how schools in Delhi and the NCR, the papers have had it all, have just had to go again on an online mode because of the pollution levels rising up. So these are those crucial days. Till 2019, we had to declare, offs. 2-3 days holidays and all. In fact, it was something like it became as a big joke where the students started talking, when is the pollution festival happening now? So it was, one big joke happening here in Delhi NCR. But yes, looking at those days, or I would say flood-like situations which happen down south or wherever, if we have a very extensive blended learning model where all your hands-on are taken care of, then the education of the child does not suffer. You don't lose out on those days. You don't have to go on replanning and rescheduling your school calendars, which all of us from education fraternity would agree is a huge challenge. So I look at it from the perspective, okay, all hands-on happening in a blended learning model, synchronous learning happening, your infrastructure, it caters to it, your educators are tuned and trained for it. And the best way to train educators is to make them go through blended learning themselves. Make your parents go through blended learning orientations. Make students, obviously, they are naturally going to go through it. But first we need to train our teachers. Whatever we plan for the child needs to be done with the educator also, because that, gives us at least one level of what are the challenges of execution, what are the inner experience which one feels. Is it experiential learning really happening in the true sense, or is it going to be something where it is going to be a cut, copy, paste exercise happening in the breakout room? So there has to be validity attached to whatever, if you're having children into breakout rooms, there has to be validity attached to it. Plus, when we talk of screen time, like WhatsApp and Instagram is popular with the kids, and parents, educators, all of us, we are all addicted to it. We did one beautiful thing. what the children were, obviously they put their reels and posts and everything on Instagram. So a particular project which happened in the online mode, children connected in breakout rooms, they connected on Zoom post school hours. We told them, okay, now whatever is your product, like they were making infographics and everything. We said, write out a story and post it as a story on Instagram. And believe me, when that happened, the interest level enthused, because it was something like my followers on Instagram and so many likes I'll get and all that. So we started using even these tools for their benefit. So it's like telling them also in a way how a particular thing need not always, how wisely you can use certain things and how unwise an addiction can be. So those are the kind of things, plus sports. We cannot ignore that sports, physical fitness. So definitely then the school calendar has to be in a blended learning model in such a manner that when children are actually there spending on campus time, delegate that time more to physical fitness, to sports, to performing arts, to things which, you find as each school may find a different challenge. Some may find that, okay, no, for this particular science experiment, I have to have the students there in the physical lab in front of me. Perfect. So that is where entirely your planning goes. Yeah. So that's how I look at the future of education, and how I see children, which they are already doing. They are creating podcasts. Ma'am talked about the Diksha platform. There are all online courses coming on in. Swayam has been launched by CBSE. And now we have this Veer Gatha project happening. So where, if children create all these things and when their work gets highlighted, so it gives them a lot of motivation, and learning definitely becomes far more engaging, more meaningful as they are going through that experience. So that's how I see, like, a school looking like, with a sports field, like sports field is there, your performing arts rooms there, not just a high-tech building. Not just that, having an equal balance of all, and with the child at the center, everything being child focused, and with your curriculum definitely being child-centric, because this will also make children, I think now is the time when children have become true owners of their learning process. It's make them, blended learning has taught them skills like self-management, it's becoming a self-directed learning also. When they are exercising their own options of what to do first, they are prioritizing their tasks. Okay, this is how I want to go about. And nothing can be more beautiful than asking your children, this is a project which needs to be done. Okay, you plan it out, how to do it. And this is all what is available. And what is it that you would require from our end? Let the educators learn from them. It has to be a two-way learning process now.
Yeah,
and I add it from special learners' point of view. See, bright children with special needs can be included in mainstream schools. So they require tech support for their day-to-day life and educational purposes. School systems should provide for easy access for these children. If they are wheelchair bound, they require ramps, they require bars in the classroom and toilets. The classroom has to be moved to ground floor, or they should be allowed to use the lifts. And some of them may need help with eating even, So all these changes has to be made. I have to share with you, actually few years back when first batch of our learners went to Christ College in Bangalore, the college people, they were so good. Within a short time, they built ramps, they provided modified bathrooms, they moved the classroom to ground floor. So all this made those learners learn very well, and they are all working now and having a good life. So these are all the basic infrastructure changes that will be needed in the classroom and the school premises.
Thank you. I think, sorry, please continue.
I just want to add on that, so in this new kind of situation where it is blended learning, and there is a lot of online, and the student doing a lot of learning at home, and then, so when they come into physical classroom, I think the assessment should be also tweaked and there should be differentiated, not only differentiated instruction, but differentiated assessment. Here, I would like to just add on to one task, that is during this COVID break, when the teachers were, when the school was actually online. This was, I think, about a student's own initiative, as well as, I think, a little bit input from the teacher, a biology teacher. The child had grown up a nice little garden at home. He had grown up a little garden, and then they were studying about different kinds of leaves. So he had made a nice scrapbook with all the different venation and leaves, which is there part of the textbook that he saw, a little bit of the learning that he saw. So I would give a complete A grade to the child. So whatever. So I think learning happens in various ways, various different ways, and each child's talent is different. So I think here the teacher's role plays really important, and the teachers need to share. So all the platform that the teachers get to, and the creativity of the teachers is immense. I mean, everybody wants to reach out to the learner. Every teacher wants to reach out to her students.
Yeah.
So I think she'll come up with her beautiful.
Thank you. I think, a lot of wonderful points have come out in the few questions that we've been able to deliberate about. I've been told by Anandi that, it's time to take questions from the audience. Now I would request Anandi and her team to let us know if there are any questions, or if there are any questions, we would request the audience to post it on the chat box so that we can direct the same to the panelists.
Vijay, we haven't seen any questions so far. So
Okay.
My call now is for the audience. Thanks all the panelists for this lovely discussion. And the audience, this is your time now to post questions that you would like to ask our panelists.
Sure.
Right. We have our first question from Gauri. How are you implementing blended learning in your school? And this is specifically for you, Vijay.
I think the last 2 years has been quite interesting. It is not that, the school has not been making inroads into using technology, but the last 2 years have definitely accelerated the way we have gone about it. For starters, when we knew it was online, like Soumya ma'am rightly said, it was time for us to educate ourselves as teachers on becoming more familiar with the usage of technology in a manner where learning is not compromised. So that was the first Herculean task that was in front of us. And everybody understands that different educators are at different levels. So it gave us a lot of impetus to focus on the basics, and also to invest a lot of time and thinking into the curricular design, like Soumya ma'am rightly said, to figure out what are the interventions that will have the most impact. So that is the way we went about it, but it's a long haul story. And slowly we began to realize the kind of tools that would be most appropriate for us. So the selection of tools, being discerning about it, was something that had to be done. And people have to get acclimatized to using those tools for the kind of impact that they desire. So that was also something that we deliberated about. And there's a lot of collaboration and thinking and experimentation that we had to do. And I'm not saying that we've reached a state where we've kind of figured it all out. It is still a work in progress.
Thanks, Vijay. I have the next question here, which is really interesting, and I'll look to you to direct it to the right panelists, or maybe all of them can also comment. What does the world where everyone goes through personalized learning look like? Paint us a picture.
Yeah, I think Vijay ma'am should take that question first. Ma'am?
Can I have the slide, please?
Yeah, Satya, you need to help out with that.
No worries. I'm sure it'll be up in a few seconds.
Me one second. Can you repeat the question, please?
Ma'am, I think the question goes something like this: does blended learning styles cater to all the learners and to the different learning styles?
No,
How does
I don't
one?
think.
Yeah, the question, I can repeat it for you, Vijay.
Yeah.
The question was the one previous to this on the chat box.
Yes.
What is the world where everyone undergoes personalized learning look like? What does that future look like for us?
Personalized. The goals and challenges of every learner is different. and it has to be personalized. Technology does not mean it has to be high end and people have to spend a lot of money on it. It can be low tech or mid tech also. But at the same time, no tech can solve every problem the child has, but it can provide access and opportunity and promotes independence and encourages empowerment. We have some of the pictures showing you tech examples. So I think so.
I think the key here, if I may just interlude, is that there are so many ways in which the future can help us, and not necessarily all of it is going to look like robots teaching us things. It can be quite simple, and as long as it is done in a thoughtful and mindless way with everybody in mind, our future can look really more inclusive, and tech can play a really important role in it. I think, speaking about a comment, we did receive a comment from one of our speakers, Janani, who made a really important point. And I think, Soumya ma'am, you had also talked about, how important physical fitness is, despite having all of this technology and digital learning access to us. So Janani's point is similar to it. I think her point is about social skills and how children, as they continue to do online learning, their social skills can be suffering. Her own example is that her child has learned more as a student, but perhaps things like resilience and communication might have suffered as a result of that. Your comments on it, if any?
If I may just add to that. See, social skills definitely, especially for the little ones, like I don't know the person who's raised this question, how old her daughter is, but especially for the little ones, especially at the entry level, because these are children who never saw the school campus. For them, the school actually became just a laptop. So social skills definitely have suffered, but then what we've also tried to do is even as now things have opened up, but I'm just sharing one or two the things which we did last year when it was a proper lockdown happening and children couldn't step out or whatever. So we first had the educator connect one-to-one with the child, video call. Then we had, two kids together where the educator tried to play games with them. In fact, on a Father's Day, what we did was to give them that outdoor experience of how life is outdoors, especially I'm talking of the little ones. We had a camp evening. Now, naturally, we could not step out. Nobody was allowed to step out. So we requested the parents, and with sheets or their moms' wives' saris, the dads put up a tent in the balcony, or in the lawn of their houses, where the father and the child were there. Everyone connected on a Zoom platform, same menu, we sang songs together, played games together. So it was like, face-to-face socialization in person was not happening. But what we tried to do was, where children definitely were learning, they actually started becoming comfortable with their own peers, firstly. Secondly, if one person is talking, he's saying, I want to play this game. Now, this is a normal thing, you see the children fighting. Nahi, pehle ye khelenge, pehle wo khelenge. So it was like, where we guided them. Okay, we'll all take turns. So things which we would have done, in an in-person classroom, teaching them adaptability, teaching them social skills to some great things. We tried to do that. We organized, we told them, okay, why don't you have a family picnic in your lawn? You can't step out. It was a proper lockdown happening, but at least these things, where so that they became somewhat familiar, and now that the schools gradually started opening up in Haryana, well, we did see that when these children came, obviously all of them at different levels, some were able to recognize and become friendly with a peer, maybe slightly easier than another one, but then gradually we played games, like we told the moms using their dupattas to create a hopscotch, or take floor chalk or something, create a hopscotch. So everybody's room during the class had a hopscotch drawn with whatever was the available material, and here was the teacher playing hopscotch. So now it's your turn and you play hopscotch. So those are the kind of things which we've tried to do, So I just thought I'll just share those things of how,
Absolutely. I mean, all that sounds really fun. Yes, sorry, ma'am, please go ahead.
I can share some examples too. We have these teenagers, they're already, special needs teenagers. They don't have friends in the building. They're sitting at home. And so we had these simple cookery classes online. So it became so interesting. Everybody had some vegetables cut, kept ready, and they would start cooking. And there was a comparison. And everybody was very happy. They made some snacks and they shared it with their family members. They posted pictures on WhatsApp. We had yoga lessons. We had Zumba classes. So, and these classes helped them learn turn taking, allow others to give them chance to talk. All these, lot of social skills developed in these children. And they had great fun during these sessions.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those
Do we still have
examples.
some more time, or are we already well past the...
I'm afraid, Vijay, we don't have time for any more questions. So I'd just like to quickly thank everybody and wrap this up really quickly. Thank you for all these examples. I did want to share three takeaways that I personally had from this, and I'm sure our audiences had as well in hearing all of you very experienced people talk. One thing is, of course, you just need to be creative and build sports, interactivity, and physical fitness into your blended learning. Cannot ignore it. That was for me top point for me, actually. The other one, really, we talked a little bit about how we need to have a certain amount of comfort with accessing and also using digital platforms, not just for students, but also parents, educators, etc. And not all screen time is bad as long as we have proper education about it and protocols for using it. And lastly, and we've touched upon this several times during this chat, technology does not have to be high tech to bridge the gap. Vijay ma'am showed us a few examples of that on her slide. Now, thank you, everybody. And thanks all of you for this session. I'd like to ask the audience what you think about, what you thought about our panel discussion. Maybe you can share some of your key takeaways as well. So why don't we quickly go on to our Menti exercise? It's time. So you can see the link that we've just posted on the chat window for you to join. So please click on that link. Or if you'd like to do it the other way, you can again go to menti.com, enter the code, or use the QR code to join us. So either ways, we'll give it a few minutes for everyone to join, and we'll get to hear from you on what you thought about the panel discussion. Waiting for a few more people to join the session. Great. This question is very simple, guys. What is your outlook on blended learning in the future? You've heard some very renowned voices in this area talk about various aspects of blended learning. It was, for me at least, a very dynamic and interesting discussion. So what was your takeaway, and what do you think blended learning is going to be like in the future? So I guess I'm looking for, without putting words in your head, futuristic, here to stay. That's a great start. Important. It's coming together. So I'll give it a few seconds to see your collective kind of thought process on the screen, and then we'll see what that looks like. You have 1 minute to do it, by the way. Thanks, Prema. New reach to reach the unreached. Sounds like a tongue twister, but very important point. Thank you. This is one of my favorite exercises to do on Mentimeter. It's because it literally feels like our collective thoughts are coming together on screen. So I personally love enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying looking at it as well. Someone has also posted, it will be very good for children with special needs. 100% agree. 15 seconds to answer if you haven't done so already. And if you're wondering how to join Menti, you have 10 seconds to click on that link and tell us what you think about blended learning in the future. Now that we have all of the answers that we can gather, guys, I mean, this slide really speaks for itself. I mean, just look at the words that have just come together from all of our audience here. Blended learning is here to stay. It's the biggest message. It is interesting. It is a rich experience, new normal. It's going to be engaging, creative opportunity. Fantastic. Thank you so much for participating. And it's time now to move on to our next session. But again, I want to say thank you for everybody to post your thoughts on chat. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Vijay, for moderating it. And before I move on to the next session, I want to take a moment again to welcome any new joiners who have just joined us. Welcome. We're very happy that you're here. I also have a list of people I'd like to thank again. Firstly, our main sponsors, Efficacy, who are, just to remind you, they are a biostatistics and statistical programming service provider, and also Bluebell Schools for Integrated Learning. They are a premier school education provider based out of Gurugram. And I know I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but I'm rather partial to a good biscotti. So thank you again, Luvia Bakery, for all the goodies. At this point, a quick reminder also on our code of conduct. It's very important and we take it extremely seriously here in Splendor and Silray. There you go. It's up on the screen for you as a reminder. Please be respectful. Always choose collaboration over conflict. I think it's safe to say not just for Splendor, but also for your life. And you are welcome, of course, to disrupt ideas that we are sharing here, but please make sure that you do not disrupt any meetings. And a quick reminder again on our etiquettes and ground rules to follow while you're here. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Please be on time so you don't miss out on any great content that we are sharing here. Keep your video on. We'd love to see your faces. Use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. If you'd like to share your voice on something, we can unmute you and let you speak. Preparation is always welcome. And of course, as you have just done so wonderfully the last few times, you're welcome to interact with us via Menti, by asking questions, and we'll have other opportunities at the end of the session to speak to some of our delegates and have an even richer interaction. Excellent. So at this time, everybody, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Sujani Nambudri. Well, she is currently the founder and executive director of Vidyaram, which is an Indian cultural immersion preschool based at the Bay Area in California, which, by the way, I have to tell you, has an astounding story. Sujani actually founded Vidyaram in 2015.
Satya, sorry to interrupt. I think the next speaker is Sujani Rane. She is from Mitra for Life. We had a movie screening just before that, and Sujani is one of the directors of Mitra for Life, and they've done a great job. And the movie was really wonderful, Sujani, if I had to say. Maybe we would introduce her once she gets started. We'll introduce her towards the end. There has been some small confusion. Sorry about it, Sujani. And over to you.
No problem. We're here to learn and make mistakes together. So thank you, Sujani, for understanding, and you're welcome to start speaking now. Thank you for joining us. Can you hear us, Sujani?
Yes, now can you hear me?
Absolutely. Thank you. Apologies again about the confusion, and thank you, Anandi, for course correcting. Well, over to you then.
I was for a second, I thought, what happened? I mean, is it really me? Because I was, my last name was changed. Anyways, yeah. So thank you, Anandi, for stepping in and clearing the confusion there. Yes, I can always be introduced later. So if I may request you to share the presentation. I can start from there. Yes. So, so we are Mitra for Life, a non-profit organization. We are a community working towards empowering children and youngsters with autism and special needs to be independent and help them integrate better in a social setup. And we are completely volunteer driven. So the word cloud that you see here is what we firmly believe and what we strive to achieve, which is social acceptance, inclusion, and volunteering for inclusion, which I'm going to be talking about today. Next slide, please. So my heart really swells with pride, to be introducing Devesh, Siddharth, and Aditya, our talented musicians who are the stars of our short film on music and autism, which is called A Thousand Starfish. I have to thank Anandi and the entire Silray team for screening the movie on this platform. During the previous session, and I really hope most of you got a chance to watch it. And it was a real honor to premiere this in the presence of our special guest, Padma Shri Dr. Bombay Jayashree ji, and our event host, MD Pallavi ji, who is an actor, a singer, and a filmmaker. And I mean, to educators, if you have if educators, and if you have, to colleges and schools, and if you have your organizations, we would be really happy to screen this movie at your premises as an awareness drive and an awareness program on autism and inclusion. Next slide, please. A little bit about how Mitra for Life, the idea of Mitra for Life was born. Mitra for Life is founded by Dr. Madhuri Vaidishwar, a homeopathic specialist in pediatric neurodevelopmental disorders. Now, during her practice, what she found was that when the child is young, he and she or she, has the support of the family and the support of the therapist and the special educator. But what happens is when the child becomes a teenager, 13 plus or a 14 plus, the role of the therapist comes down, the role of a special educator comes down, and so we have the teenager, with the family, and there's not much support system there. So, yeah, next slide, please. So what happens is, because individuals with autism, they really struggle with social interactions, and they lack, the lack of communication. They don't communicate really well. They don't do well in a social setup. And because of the lack of awareness and knowledge that we all have, I think even in our schools and colleges, there's very less information that that we are given about a special needs community or an individual with autism and special needs. So they're perceived to be different, and we think they're from a different world, and they also can't make friends easily, which again, they don't have any friends. So all these factors make them feel isolated and socially excluded. And that is the general social perception when it comes to special needs and autism, Down syndrome, and various other challenges. Next slide, please. So the idea was, the idea was to bring the community in, right? So we said, let's change the support system available for children and youngsters with special needs, what is available today. Our mantra, what we really focused on is inclusion. We strongly believe in the community coming together, and the team is constantly ideating and working on how we can creatively come up with something that will benefit the children. So when we say we are bringing in the community, it could be anyone, and they don't need to have any connection with special needs. It could be anyone who who has the heart and mind to be part of the change, and they want to contribute to the community and make a difference. And then we said, so while we have the families and this individual who's a teenager now. We also have the community. So then we said we'll also bring in the youth volunteer, a very, very essential part of our pool. Volunteers are college volunteers or young working professionals. So, and that's how Mitra for Life. So, Mitra in its name itself means friendships. So, we are here to create circle of friendships for individuals with special needs and autism. Next slide, please. So essentially, what we do is we want empowering youngsters with autism or special needs. So circle of friendships. Yes, we believe in having the youngsters interact with a peer group and in, interact with them over even a cup of coffee or just go out hang out with them. We create new experiences like out of box experiences for them, like a day trip, or it could even be taking them to a ground to play a sport and things like that. We have online socials. Online socials is that came up during the COVID time because we really couldn't meet face to face. So we came up with an online social system, which I will also talk to you a little bit in detail about later. And we also have a parent support group. So we said it's not only, we are not only going to support individuals with autism and special needs, but we are also going to give parents a platform for them also to interact. And we firmly believe that parents learn from other parents, and our parent support group is really a strong network of parents who meet regularly and they interact with each other, always learning and sharing that happens. And our awareness program. So we are constantly ideating on taking the whole idea of inclusion to schools, colleges, conducting workshops. So that's also a part of our programs. Next slide, please. So what we are now, we are not a special school, we are not educators, right? But what we are, we're not a school also. What we are a real social network, bringing the community, parents, youth volunteers, and the individual and the youngster with special needs all together, and really working towards social inclusion. Next slide, please. Volunteering for inclusion, building empathy in education. So why should anybody volunteer for inclusion and for special needs? Can you move on to the next slide? I think first and foremost, when you reach out to someone and you help someone, there is always a sense of accomplishment leading to satisfaction when you help somebody. And volunteering is a great way to give back to the society. You become more compassionate, and with every interaction and involvement, you evolve as a better person, and it has a greater bearing and impact on the society, and it's your personal growth. You're gaining so much of knowledge and experience yourself. We've heard a lot about corporate social responsibility, but there is also the individual responsibility which matters, and we need to embrace that as well. We all have a duty towards improving the quality of life of others, and we have to contribute. We have to contribute our ideas and creatively make the change happen. And all our contributions are like drops of the ocean that would eventually make up the ocean. So it is really, really important to volunteer for the community, as it has a greater impact on the society as a whole, and we can really bring in inclusion in every possible way. Next slide, please. And I also wanted to touch upon the fact that, the day an individual signs up for volunteering, the seeds of inclusion are sown within the community. It is really important when you think about it. I really hope every person that they connect with, once they volunteer and interact with an individual, with the community and with the special needs youngster, they will share their experience and thus motivate their friends, family, and acquaintances to also volunteer. Now, this wave, when it spreads, would build the critical mass required, thus kicking off a network or ripple effect or whatever you may call it, and help in accomplishing this inclusion dream that we at Mitra for Life have. And I really believe when we come together, this will happen. Volunteering for as a part of education, when we talk about that, it is extremely important for schools, colleges, and educators to motivate students to volunteer for a special needs community and inclusion. It is very important to encourage problem solving also in students at this age, because when you volunteer, they're put in situations that are out of their comfort zone, and they're in the process, they're gaining valuable experience. So when an individual with special needs meets volunteers, it makes them feel part of the community and encourages them to be themselves, which is what, which most of them struggle with, is they're not able to be in their natural element when they are put in a group or a social setting today. Eventually, if more people volunteer, youngsters with special needs will be able to blend well in the mainstream. And I hope, as Mitra for Life, in the near future, they will find jobs of their interest, not a job that we think they can do well, but they can find a job that's interest to them. And this I believe would be the gift that we could give to them. And for this purpose alone, volunteering for such a cause is so important. And I feel it must be made part of the normal education curriculum at a suitable age. And we have such experts and educators here today with us. And I think it's a request to them to kind of, also look into the curriculum and make inclusion as part of the learning system also. Now, yeah, next slide, please. And they're also change makers of, them change makers of tomorrow. So in the process, they're gaining so much of knowledge that, we are shaping the future, we're shaping the minds of our future and the future generations to come. And there will be leaders, at every stage, every opportunity. Yeah. And how can we be part, how can you volunteer at Mitra for Life? Next slide, please. Yes, so you can become our brand ambassador. You can help us plan, run, and execute social media campaigns and spread awareness and knowledge on autism. We have outreach programs that I spoke to you about to bring about a change and help us reach out to schools, colleges, and educational institutions. And we have mentorship programs as well. We're all passionate about something or the other in life, and each of us are good at sports, art, math, science, it could be anything. So why don't we take this one step forward and share our learnings with also the special needs youngsters and encouraging them to expand their wings and learning a new skill. Or simply, we can just be the friend that they want us to be. So hanging out with a special needs youngster, creating friendships over food, conversations, and stories. Next slide, please. And you can also help us create new experiences, a fun day outing with a group of friends. It could be a trek or a farm visit, an adventure or a sport. And next slide, please.
Sujani, I just want to remind you that you have maybe 2 to 3 minutes to close. So just wanted to help you keep track of time.
Sure. Yeah. So that's why I'm rushing. Okay. Yeah. So, and then we also, we strongly believe in creating circle of friendship. So volunteers can join us and hang out with youngsters over fun activities like taking them to a park and, or a ground to play football and things like that. Next slide, please. Weekend socials, we also This is an ongoing activity that we do. Fitness is something that we give a lot of importance, and we can take them out to the parks for a run, walk over the weekends. Next slide, please. And we have 950 families and 15 cities and 200 youth volunteers. That's the kind of impact that we are generating today, and we hope to reach more families and make a difference. Next slide, please. Yeah, and it all comes down to this. There's no limit to what we can accomplish together. Come, do join us and be a part of our journey. Next slide. Yeah. So you can reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram, and that's our website. Please do look us up, and you can always write to us and volunteer with us. Thank you so much.
Sujani, thank you very much. I know you had to rush through the last couple of slides, but please be rest assured that the message has landed. At least for me, I can clearly see that Mitra for Life really brings together the power of community and social network, not just social network in the way we might be associating it with right now, but focusing on a community sense. To me, I'm particularly thrilled to see how holistic I think the support system is. We're talking about parents so that they can lean and learn from other parents. I also have friends who have children with special needs, and I can see that the support I'm able to provide to my friend versus another parent in a similar situation is tremendous. Really great to see your raising awareness in schools, and tying this back to some of the comments we had earlier about how children need to develop social skills, empathy, emotional intelligence. I think tying that up with volunteering, especially if you catch them at an early age, the impact can be tremendous. So thank you for starting the ball on this, and I wish you the very best, that the effects, that the ripple effect will have far-reaching benefits for everybody involved. And I know we had a little mix-up about your introduction earlier, so of course, I'm more than happy and very proud to introduce you properly this time. So for all our audience, Sujani, who we've just heard from, is part of the management team at Mitra for Life that we talked about the last few minutes. It works towards empowering children and young adults with autism and special needs. Sujani personally, I think, draws inspiration from personal experience growing up alongside a family member with disability. She's now working to give back to the society through Mitra for Life, raising awareness, bringing the community together, and hopefully, I think with an aim, Sujani, correct me if I'm wrong, to creating a far more accepting, inclusive, and kinder world. And a little tidbit about Sujani that I'd like to share before we move on. She loves listening to music, loves food, loves to trek. But for me, the thing that really stood out was that she is an acting enthusiast. So she's also won a Best Actress Award in UAE for a short film festival. That's amazing. I'm going to go look it up after the session. But thank you for being with us, Sujani, and sharing your Mitra for Life ideas and thoughts with us. Right. I'm going to move on to our next topic, guys, which is close to my heart and a very pertinent one, especially if you look back at the lovely panel discussion we had on tech for learning. According to the World Health Organization, more than 1 billion people, and just to put that in perspective, that's about 15% of the world. It's mind-blowing to me every time I read that number. More than 1 billion people live with some sort of special needs requirement. So you can imagine why this conversation is really important, because as a community, as in even a species, we are not moving forward if we don't bring everybody along. If you are an educator, the chances are pretty high that in your classroom, you will need to cater to some special requirements to make sure that everyone in your classroom is able to experience learning in a positive and enriching way. That's why I'm so thrilled that we have Vidya with us to lead the discussion on this topic. Vidya has firsthand experience on the obstacles that those with special needs, such as visual impairment, can face in accessing quality education. Vidya founded Vision Empower, which is a not-for-profit enterprise to bring education in science and mathematics to students, particularly with visual impairment. She's also founded Bembi Technologies, which aims to create assistive technologies to make education more accessible and more inclusive for children and students who have a visual impairment situation, right? And it's safe to say for her work, Vidya's done tremendously well. She's won several awards and accolades throughout her time spent in this field. And she continues to lend her voice to this topic via TED Talks and other opportunities where she's able to share her thoughts, just like in Splendor for now. A little bit of fun trivia for you. Vidya has been a radio jockey for a radio show, and she has also hosted over 35 episodes on science and technology that has benefited thousands of visually impaired listeners. I really hope you enjoy hearing from her. And joining Vidya is Krishna Kumari. Krishna is an IT professional and has been so for over 2 decades. She currently is a podcast host and also a monthly columnist for the Deccan Herald. Krishna's podcast actually interacts with inspiring women, who have chosen to pursue a path that is aside from what their gender-based roles are already as dictated by society. So I can imagine that podcast being filled with voices of women who've done such a difficult and such a inspiring piece of work in their lives. So I'm excited that the both of you are together with us. Thank you for joining. And yes, over to you.
Thank you. So Vidya, nice. I'm feeling very thankful. Thanks for those wonderful introductions, Satya. And I'm feeling very happy to chat with Vidya today. There is no fire here around. In fact, it is all wet around right here in Bangalore. And I'm sure most of South India as well. So wish it was a real fireside chat. And I feel very privileged to be having this chat with Vidya. And I'm sure every member in the audience would love to have this chat. And I feel honored to be a person representing the audience having this chat with Vidya. So that's nice. So Vidya, I would, maybe we can start with you talking about the kind of challenges you faced. The TED Talk that I saw, that itself is so inspiring. And I'm sure the people in the audience would also, appreciate it. But for this conversation, maybe it would help if you could highlight some of the challenges you faced, especially in the context of learning. And there again, especially in the context of learning maths or science, programming, because you have been a trendsetter or a trailblazer in that area.
Yes, hope I'm audible and my video is clearly visible.
Yes, Vidya, it is.
Thank you so much for inviting me here, and I've been listening to the previous sessions and every session was really interesting. And thank you also for the kind introduction. So coming to my experiences, so I am a person with visual impairment and I'm completely blind since birth. And I'll be talking from an Indian perspective. Because I grew up in India, I was born and brought up in India. And I have been on both sides, where in my childhood where there was no accommodation at all. And also I have seen how things changed when there were necessary accommodations. So this has helped me to understand the ground realities better because I've been there. Now I'll just briefly mention my experiences, and as you had asked, I will also mention experiences with regard to studying STEM. So I was born in a village, and in villages, there's a lot of stigma about people with disabilities. People are not educated. Even now in my village, people do ask me, who am I? That's the favorite question that everybody asks. So it still continues. And there are not enough resources for a child with visual impairment in a village. And there's no awareness on what to do with a person with visual impairment, because that's the first time ever someone is visually impaired in that village. Now, naturally, the first 4 years for me went in trying to restore my eyesight. And one of the doctors who operated my left eye informed my parents that you have anyway named her Vidya, so just go ahead and give her very good education. So all this indirectly plays a part in, learning. So
Right.
for me, fortunately, there was one person who knew Braille and who decided Braille is a script which visually impaired people used to read and write. So she knew Braille and she decided to teach me Braille when I was younger. And I went to school only in grade 2, again, as I said, because we didn't have awareness. And the school was inside the city. And in my school, everyone were blind, but there was some hesitation in terms of, um, catering to needs which come up, especially in math and science, because everybody believed that someone is visually impaired, they shouldn't study math and science. Anyway, nobody is studying, so just skip everything in math and science. So we mostly did only those 4 basic operations till 7th grade.
Hmm. Hmm.
Out eventually, most children drop out even in 7th grade or lesser from math and science, because firstly there is optional subjects like political science and economics, and this is because of various reasons. So what happened was, when I came to 8th grade, it was a regular school, because my school had only till 7th grade. And here what I realized was everything was done on blackboard. So I cannot grasp anything when I'm sitting, because the teacher is saying multiply this and this and you get the answer 20, and I really have no idea what and what was multiplied. So
Hmm.
there were no books also available for me. There were books, but especially not in math and science in Braille, because math and science have lot of diagrams.
Okay.
And there were no teachers who are experienced to teach me, because first time they were seeing me and even they have to figure out what to do with me. And
Hmm.
also technologies were there, but they were not affordable. At the same time, even though there were technologies at that time, I was not aware that there are a lot of technologies that visually impaired people could use. So all of these continued till my post graduation also, where I was, taking up computer science. Again, these issues were there, that people told me don't take these subjects because they're going to be really hard, but I like math and science and also technology related subjects,
So
so I
Vidya,
took them up.
you decided not to leave maths and science. Though you
Yes.
had easier options available, you just decided to continue to learn maths and science.
Yes. So all of these challenges, whatever I mentioned, they even were there till my post graduation, because I took up visual subjects, though there was an option. So these were some of the challenges that I would like to highlight, that were there for me, especially with regard to math and science and technology.
Yeah, so we are talking about challenges from all kinds of, all sides in terms of whether the teachers are able to help you, whether you have the resources available, the absence of technology, lack of awareness. I think the only thing going was you wanting to learn. Nothing stopping you from learning those maths and science. So on a day-to-day basis, it would have been difficult, extremely difficult, which we are unable to even fathom, I presume. But moving from there to having, part of Vision Empower, what is it that, what is the role Vision Empower do to influence learning, especially to help people who have challenges like what you have explained?
Yeah, so as you rightly mentioned, in a few sentences, I really cannot describe the challenges, because I had like so many sleepless nights for years because of so many things I had to manage myself, getting extra letters from educational ministry, and in the last minute they have some funny rules like, a person who is younger than me, they should be able to write my exam, and in the exam I figure out they don't know how to read symbols. So all of these challenges were there, and then I realized for me that I was anyway, I had gone through studying math and science as a visually impaired person, and so many people like me also will be going through the same, and they would want to study math and science because I don't see any disadvantage over here. A child with visual impairment can easily study math and science given the resources because of my personal experience. So this is when, after I interned at Microsoft Research, I spoke to one of my Professor Amit Prakash from IIIT Bangalore, and he connected me to Supriya, who was also graduating in that year, and we together started Vision Empire. So first year, what we did was we wanted to check if all these challenges that I mentioned are still there or not, and we found that exactly there are the same challenges even now. So my schooling, it got completed in 2011, but since then the challenges have been the same. So first year was all research, and here's when we figured out. So what Vision Empire does is to makes science and math and technology education accessible to children who are visually impaired, school children, because we believe that that's where the effort should begin, and that's where the children would be able to learn best. And at Vision Empire, what we do, we don't have one particular solution. So we know that just developing one technology won't solve the whole thing, or just giving a textbook wouldn't solve the whole problem. So we have, we are catering to holistic needs with regard to studying math and science. So firstly, we have the content itself that is made accessible. As I was mentioning, I just had text part of it in braille, so that won't help. So digestive system just remains a definition for me unless and until I touch the diagram and feel. So we have tactile diagrams, we have 3D models, we have everything else that is needed to get the same experience and same learning, just like how a person who could see would learn. So that is one of our initiative. Then secondly, we have our teacher training programs, because most, as I was mentioning, in blind schools, math and science have not been catered to much. And also the teachers themselves, most of them are visually impaired. If they have not studied these subjects, it's difficult for them to teach. So we bridge any conceptual gap that they may have, and also train them on using our resources, because all of these are new for them. And along with Microsoft Research, we are focusing on making computational thinking accessible to children who are visually impaired. Because
can you give an example of that for the benefit of the audience?
Yeah, so computational thinking is basically, most of us would know that it's just breaking down a complex problem into smaller steps and being able to think about it so that you can program on a computer later. But digital literacy and numeracy are the foundation. So we are having a list of games where the children use easily available material like braille cards that we have designed, or pebbles. So they play, and as they play, they learn. So this is how all our games in computational thinking are designed, and this is jointly with Microsoft Research. For example, just to give you an idea, so we have a game called IC10, and a child, say, picks up two cards, 4 and 6, and if you add up 4 and 6, you should say I see 10. So the same thing, you can make as many pairs as possible, 3 and 7, 2 and 8. So whoever is able to make the most number of pairs get to win the game. Like this, we have various games, and children wouldn't know that they are playing, but they still learn a lot of concepts through these. And since we are incubated at IIIT Bangalore, we have a list of technologies also in our portfolio, like refreshable braille book reader, and which is called Hexis, and accessible learning management system and everything. So because technology is so important, I'm even able to join Zoom because of the technology, the screen reader that I have on my machine. So we believe that technology is a huge enabler. So we have a list of technologies as well.
So I have a doubt here. So one is in terms of enabling the students or the children who want to learn, and you touched upon the teacher training part of it. How about the third aspect of awareness and the fourth aspect of affordability? Are there also steps being taken around these two as well, so that more and more students are aware that such opportunities do exist and it is reachable to them?
So, in terms of awareness, we don't have to do much for the students because, fortunately for us, most of the children go to blind schools, and we get all of them in a residential facility. And once the child is enrolled into a school, their parents mostly leave it to the schools to
School.
take care of their needs. So we
Okay.
find all the visually impaired children in one place, except say about 500 in the whole country. The rest all are enrolled in special schools, so we don't have to go from home to home and create these awareness. But from personally for me, what I make sure is I come and talk in conferences like these. I give motivational talks to schools and colleges, and in whatever way for me it is possible, I create awareness. And at the same time, we also, as Vision Empower, as an organization, we also participate in various various forums where inclusion is a theme, and that's how we create awareness for college and corporates and everything. And affordability, as you mentioned, that is always at it's always the priority because our users cannot afford what we make. So we make sure that our technologies are fully affordable, and we try to get funding from CSR organizations or sponsors, and mostly all our services are free to the end users.
That's wonderful to hear that, Vidya. While you were saying, I was also like Vision Empower, you said one of the initial steps was to do research. And over the years, what has been your view compared to when you grew up as a young student versus now? How do you think the impact of technology or even otherwise it has been on the learning experiences for visually challenged learners? Do you think there has been a change, very minimal change? What is your view on that?
I really feel the changes are huge. I'm not going to focus only on technology, but also social changes, because all of these play a part in getting a holistic learning experience. And I really feel some of the areas in which I can see a lot of changes are firstly parental involvement. When I was studying, there were a lot of residential students in the schools, and parents wouldn't take them home even once in 3 or 4 months. But now most of the children are going home and are involved with their parents. And because there's so much improvement in the medical care, number of blind children have gone down, because we were looking for children in the early school, early childhood group, and all the government departments and hospitals, they told us that the prevention is so much better now that there are really few visually impaired children. Maybe in the old age many are losing their eyesight, but in childhood the number of visually impaired children are reduced now. And and also before, parents were mostly concerned about how, if there is a child with visual impairments, obviously there'll be so many things to take care. So the first priority would be, how do I get textbooks for my child, how do I send them to school? But now that many organizations are working in this space, parents are also looking at holistic development. They are looking at what they can do better, just like any other child who can see at their home. We are working with some of the schools, and in Kerala especially, many children love cycling. They're trying art, they're trying many new things along with education. That is also thanks to a lot of people who are working in this area, where the basics are taken care of and children are actually treated as children now.
That's so nice to hear. That should have been the normal, but yeah.
Yeah. And also I see that parents are more involved even with children who have additional disabilities, because it's not uncommon for us to find at least 2 children among 10 children who have extra additional disabilities. Maybe they are slightly hearing impaired, or they have intellectual disabilities. Now many parents are also seeing how best they can provide for them, and that is a huge change that has gone.
Yeah,
And
that is a
also
huge shift. Yeah.
I really can't emphasize this much. Technology has changed in a very, very, very big way. Because
True.
when I was studying, if I want to get any material read out, so someone had to read it out for me. Now I can just scan and use OCR facility, convert it and read. And even children as young as 6 years, they know how to use Alexa. They're able to get on to call. And
Correct.
I couldn't believe that even when I was doing this digital literacy program, our teachers in the remotest part of the country also had basic phone. They were able to have some basic internet facility and join our Google Meet calls, which was an eye opener for me.
And audio as a technology area itself has also developed in parallel, right?
Yes,
Which
yes,
helps.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Especially Kindle and everything. And the technology that is there for reading audio, all of it has developed. And also one more huge change is in terms of the role models. Now I see that, since few people have done well in their area, few people with visual impairments, there's no more trouble for parents on if they have a visually impaired child. They're not completely lost. We see that most of the parents know at least one person who has done well in any area, and I think the number of role models have increased, and that is really huge.
Such a wonderful point that you have shared. Now we walked from your challenges to the past and the changes that have happened. Now, if we align with the topic of this conference in terms of the future of learning, how do you see the power of learning design in the future? How do you think that is going to play out? What are your views on that?
So, if I want to talk about what changes I would like to see to make learning much enjoyable and accessible for children with all types of abilities, then I feel that, firstly, a lot of people are working in silos. And I think there should be a lot of collaborative effort that needs to come in, because if someone is developing something and others are not sure and develop the same thing, there's a lot of resource and energy, time, all that is being wasted. So we need a lot of people to come together, have conferences like these, discuss, take ideas, then work together and come up with solutions, because then a lot of people will be able to benefit from whatever is being done.
Yeah.
And I somehow feel that we have also sometimes, copied the Western model of accessibility, which slightly has to be changed. Because if you talk about accessibility in the US or somewhere in that part of the world, so the concept of independence is entirely different over there. Because um, in India, many people, they go out for lunch together, they depend on each other. So independence here is not the kind of concept that we have borrowed, that if someone is visually impaired or hearing impaired, they should be able to do each and everything by themselves, because that won't hold uh, true in the Indian context. So I feel that some of it has to be changed depending on our context.
Yeah, we
And
have to adapt
also,
it to our context.
yes, definitely. And also I feel that we talk about making each and everything accessible, which is not needed sometimes. We should see what is appropriate and make those accessible. Because I'll give you a simple example. We were trying to make something in place, there was a concept, place value. We were trying to make it accessible. So in the book, now if you have number 12, 1 and 2, So
Mm.
they had drawn two boxes, and in the units place where there should be two, so there were two bananas, and say in tens place there's one, so there was one apple. And
Mm.
when we tried to implement that, the children with visual impairment were finding it really difficult. Imagine they were if it is 78 or something, then they have to touch 8 fruits
Yeah.
and count how many it is. So we then figured out that instead of putting everything as it is, we need to customize it, because here the concept is not important. Concept is important and not the shape. So you could
Correct.
rather have two dots and one dot to easily
Yeah.
be able to touch and count. So when we say make things accessible, it doesn't mean that each and everything that is available should be put as it is. Sometimes we need to see if it's appropriate or not, and we need to make it accessible, because a lot of people do think accessibility means it should be exactly copied and made accessible.
Yeah. Such a valid point, and I'm sure uh, your input and people doing this with intention will help. So to the audience, please reach out and share your questions, which you can I can share on your behalf with Vidya. So questions have started coming in, and meanwhile, Vidya, we touched upon technology, we touched upon collaboration and so many other aspects. I'm very curious to know, what do you think is the most important thing to influence learning for accessibility? If I'm asking you for one word, what is the most important thing?
I really feel it's the mindset and attitude, because a lot of people, when they meet me or any other person with visual impairment or any other person with a disability, there's so much assumption that is already inbuilt. People do think this is what they can do, this is what you cannot do. So I feel that mindset and attitude, and also a lot of unlearning is something that is needed, because what you assume is not the not exactly what it is. So it's always better to be a learner and reduce assumption as much as possible. And I feel mindset and attitude is fixed, then rest of it becomes really easy.
Wonderful. So there is one question. Yes, mindset change. A lot of people, sharing support about that particular point that you mentioned. And there have questions have started coming in, and I would want to hand over to Satya with this one question, which I'm also curious about, which is, Vidya, what is your favorite pastime?
uh it's not a pastime for me, but I love to meditate, so I meditate a lot. I am following a spiritual path, so I love to meditate, and that's something I do it lots. Apart from that, I love singing and making new friends and building my network.
Oh,
I can
wonderful.
just meet anyone and just have a chat. I just love it.
So you are going to hear from me more often. Forcefully, I'm becoming your friend now. Over to you, Satya. Thanks so much for this wonderful chat. And I think Satya would help us with more questions which have started coming in.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Vidya, and thank you, Krishna. And yes, in speaking of making new friends, I think there are a lot of people are very interested to be your friend, Vidya, from the chats that are just started coming in. I just want to read out some of the comments to you. People have said that Vidya has had my attention, which in this world of, shifting small attention spans is saying something. Vidya has had my attention literally since she had started speaking. She's an amazing speaker. And I think your spiritual journey is beginning to show in the way you're presenting yourself as well, because people are also saying that you have a very soothing, kind of comforting presence to be around, which is great. Here's a question that I'd like to pass on to you, Vidya. This is from Fatima, and she asks, in the race to catch up with the world in different fields, how do we ensure that we take all the sections of the society with us and leave no one behind?
Yeah, I think this is a really important question. And for that, what I feel is, again, mostly when we talk about, everybody has to do something, like, everyone has to take up medicine or everybody has to take up engineering. I'm sure 75% of the people might not like what they're doing. So here I feel when you have to take people with different types of abilities also along, then we need to identify what each of them are good and encourage them to go in that area, then asking them also to involve with everybody else and take up what everyone is doing. So for example, you cannot take a blind person and say, okay, become an artist. I know it's possible, some of them have done it, but not everyone will be interested in something like that because you haven't seen a lot of art. So I feel what you are good at, it's better to do that, and then it wouldn't be a rat race anymore. It would be enjoyable for everyone. And I feel once that is done, it's so complementary that so suppose when I am at Vision Empire, I'm working, so I will be, say I cannot make a PPT quickly, so I ask somebody else to insert the images and make PPT for me, but I will then suggest them on the strategy on how to make it, what to be included. So it's a teamwork and it's mutually beneficial. So I feel that as a team, encouraging everybody's ability and promoting their uniqueness will help us build a better team.
Absolutely. I completely can relate to that as well. If you try and write with your left hand when you're actually a right-hand writer, it's going to, you might be able to pull it off, but you're never going to write as beautifully as you can with your right hand. So focus on your strengths, try and find out what they are. And I'm sure in a team, especially if you can tap onto the people's strengths instead of improving our weaknesses, perhaps, this might be a great way for everybody to move forward with the strengths they have. Thank you so much, Vidya. You are going to be inundated with friendship requests after this. I'm seeing so many people. I'm seeing so many people who have written here that, they'd love to be your friend and they are going to find you. So just a little warning from my side. Well, with that, I'd like to wrap up this session and thank both Vidya and Krishna. Thank you also for facilitating this discussion.
Thank you.
So onwards then to the next topic. It's actually something that all of us are going to enjoy. A little background to this. As you can imagine, all the organizers at Silray have pulled excellent stops to make the session interesting for you. They invited entries for captions and art on the theme of the conference, which is Future of Education. And we received over 300 entries, which is fantastic. And I want to thank every single person who sent an entry. But in the interest of time, we're going to show you the 5 shortlisted entries over the next few slides. So I hope you're ready to see some art. The first one, which is already up on the screen, is from Bhumika Gautam. Thank you, Bhumika, for sending this. And here's one from Kiran Srinivasan. Count on a high-speed Wi-Fi connection for progressive education. Quality of education is subject to signal strength. There's also a little comment under his name that I'd like you to just take a few moments to read before we move on to the next one. Right, moving on. Here's one from Rashi. The future of education is going to reach new heights. It has taken off from the branch of comfort and is now ready to explore new bounds. Thank you, Rashi, for sending this in. And what a lovely picture of a bird taking flight to caption it. Thank you very much. The next one is from Siddharth Sridhar, who's taken a lot of effort to put this together. The future of education for students to get more from school. And this one, the last one that we have for you right now, from Prahlad Babu, a lovely, multimedia presentation, taken a lot of effort to draw, cut, and caption and envision this. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for all of you who've sent in the entries, and thank you especially to the 5 who have made it to the shortlist. Time now to move onwards to an exciting part of the session where we are going to hear from a selection of voices from students, researchers, and others. So here's what you can expect in the next few minutes. We're going to have a paper presented from each of our shortlisted entries. We'll have 8 minutes of presentation, and we will have questions, time for questions as well from the audience. In order to kind of view and give their feedback and insights on the topics that are going to be presented, we have our esteemed chairs, Janani Devarajan and Lalita Raman. Janani, ladies and gentlemen, has a background in AI from Cornell University, and she's currently looking to understand the ethics around AI, which you can imagine is a significant aspect of AI. When we think of AI, it's not just the technology, but what about the ethics and the protocols around it? So she's exploring that currently. She's also writing a dystopian novel. And someone with a background in AI writing a dystopian novel can only mean that it's going to be a powerful combination. The novel will be out soon, so I'd request all of you to keep an eye out and look it up in due time. Our other chair, Lalita, she is the Dean and HOD of Commerce and Management with nearly 4 decades of rich experience in teaching, planning, and managing this area of commerce and management. So thank you both for being here. We're very eager to get started with the presentations. So let's go on to our first paper. Our first paper will be presented by Pranati. She has an interesting idea, so stay tuned to hear about it in her paper titled Future of Education for the Visually Impaired. Over to you, Pranati, and good luck.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello, everyone. I am Pranati Babu, a class 6 student from PSBB LLA Bangalore. Today, before I present my paper with you all, let me start with a poll to get to understand all of your opinions. Please click on the link from the chat box and give your thoughts. Can we please have the link shared? Thank you. Let me read out the questions. Who do you think is suffering most from this pandemic in terms of education? Children who are deaf, children who are blind, children who are poor, and children who have ADHD. Does everybody have the link? Thank you. Thank you for your enthusiastic participation in the poll. As you all can see from the poll, many people have opted for the poor, followed by children who have ADHD, then children who are blind, and lastly, children who are deaf. As you all can agree, all of these need special attention, especially in an online classroom environment where challenges increase exponentially. And my paper will focus on the future of education for the visually impaired. Can we please have the presentation displayed? Yes, thank you. So here's our problem statement. Previously, children who cannot see or visually impaired used to go to special schools and learn. But now that everything is online, the visually impaired kids cannot see the screen and learn. Next slide, please. My solution. A special laptop with 3 buttons will be given, as you can see below. The yellow button makes the laptop function like a normal one. The green one will bulge, darken the words for people who are partially blind. The blue button will translate the words to Braille and make it bulge, enabling completely blind kids to read. This kind of laptops will help families with different types of eyesight. So once again, here are the 3 buttons. Next slide, please. So let's get to know what's going on right now.
Right now, blind people are using refreshable braille displays in which the braille writing would be on the keyboard. The sentence written in braille would bulge up, and once the reader is done reading, the old sentence will go down and the new one will come up. This way, they will be able to read paragraphs in braille. But this can only be used by the blind, whereas the button laptop can be used by families who have different people with different kind of eyesight. Next slide, please. So this was the refreshable braille display I was talking about. It is connected to the laptop here. And when a sentence is written, the first two lines you can see there, it will bulge up, enabling the blind to read. Next slide, please. But this can only be used by the blind, whereas the button laptop can be used by people with all types of eyesight. This paper will focus on analyzing all these issues and come up with the best solution. So the main reason I have made this is because people who have families with different kind of eyesights, like imagine they have to buy one refreshable braille display and then they have to buy a laptop for another person, and then the people who can partially see but then they need the letters to be more bold, etc., they need some more things. But this one laptop can get all of that covered. Next slide, please. Can we please have the next slide? Thank you. So the impact. The visually impaired children can also get continuous learning even in these pandemic times. Second point, long distance education or online learning will be possible for the visually impaired children, just like the normal children. Next slide, please. So what's the next step? The next step. The government should conduct special workshops for the visually impaired children and teachers who handle them on how effectively use these new technologies, as not everybody would directly get to know how to use these laptops, how to change from one setting to another. So if the government gets to know what to do for free, they could actually help the blind or other people get to know how this can be used. Second point, all the people should be given these laptops for free or affordable prices. Please go back to the previous slide. Thank you. Affordable prices so that everyone can get access and make use of these devices. So basically, our main purpose of this is so that everybody get access. But what about the people who do not have much money? How are they going to have access to this? That is the reason they should be given for free or affordable prices. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So, yeah. So now, before I conclude, I would like to get your feedback and know the scope for improvements. Can we please have the poll? The second one. Thank you. I shall read out the question once. What are your thoughts or suggestions about the paper? A, need of the hour. B, difficult to implement. C, innovative approach. D, happy with the paper. Is everybody able to access? Thank you. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me. Yes, 7% of the people say it is difficult to implement. I will think about that and see if there's any other way I could make this paper much easier to implement. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you, Pranati, for
Also
conducting this
participating.
poll.
Thank you, Silre, for this wonderful opportunity to bring across my thoughts. Thank you, audience, for being patient throughout and being very interactive. Thank you all once again. Does anybody have any questions?
Very nice, very sweet, Pranati. It was too good. We really enjoyed listening to you. And what inspired you? Am I audible? What inspired you to go into this topic?
Pranati, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I was not able to unmute. What I thought was, we are here, for us, this is difficult. We are itself going to online classes. It's difficult for us to do. Then I thought, what about the people who do not have enough luxury? Then I thought, okay, maybe this could be the topic of the paper. And then I came up with the solution.
Hi, Pranati. My name is Janani. Did you hear the previous speaker, Vidya?
Yes.
She's actually visually impaired. You should, when you have a solution or when you're thinking about a problem which affects somebody specific and you do not have an idea about such things, you should actually connect with those people. She is an excellent candidate and she obviously has gone through the problems that you are empathetic enough to understand, but really a solution to a complex problem will definitely not be simple.
Thank you very much for the feedback. I will work on.
Yeah, you should connect with her. And when you think about a complex problem, there is no easy solution like a simple laptop, which everybody gets. It should actually address the problem.
Okay, thank you for the feedback.
But good start.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pranati.
Thank you very much, all.
Thank you for sharing your idea with us, and thank you, the chairs, as well, for your comments. We will have time at the end of all three presentations as well to get to know a little bit more about the two of you and your experience. But now it's time to move on to our next paper. The next paper is going to be presented by Bula and Dr. Shilpa. They are from the Department of Special Education from the National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities. So over to you and good luck.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. I thank you, the Siltre team, for giving me this opportunity to present my paper here. So today I just want to talk about my paper, which is a title called E-Teaching Students with Intellectual Disabilities, Advantages and Disadvantages. It's a special educator's perspective. So when we are talking about the special educator's perspective about the e-teaching, now as we are being from the pandemic situation from past, I would like to say like past 2 years, we are in the pandemic situation and all the colleges, institutions, organizations were closed down because of the proper lockdown. So there was no education taking place for the normal children as well as the non-disabled children. So when we are talking about the education, when our concept in this conference is like education, future education about our children, isn't it? So when I'm talking about the education of children, so as a special educator, I would like to focus on the education related to the special needs children. So my topic, I'm going to present my research study on the e-teaching students with intellectual disabilities, advantages and disadvantages. In students or the special educators perspective, myself, I'm Beulah Susan. I'm the faculty from the NIPID, that is National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities from India. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So when we are talking about this pandemic situation, there was a need for shifting from traditional teaching to the e-teaching, that is like online teaching. when the schools, colleges, and the institutions, and when we are talking about the intellectual disabilities or the any other special needs children, almost all the rehabilitation centers were also closed down. But during that, how to engage the children, how to make them engage or self-help skills or their own motor skills and other skills, we need to make them engage in that. So for that, what we have uh, uh, planned is like we thought of doing the online teaching so that they can be engaged in the activity, so that they will not develop the behavioral issues or any temper tantrums. So when we started planning the special educators, I being a special educator and the faculty in the NIPED, I used to train our diploma students, master's students, and the bachelor students in the special education. So we were moving on to the online teaching, or as till now we were talking about the blended learning model. So when we are talking about this blended learning model, all the normal schools already they have started this online teaching. So even the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment of Special Needs also have given orders to start online teaching. So we have initiated the online teaching so that the children with special needs will engage in the activities, so that they can be in a routine. What they have developed, the routines were disturbed. So when we plan to engage the children through online teaching, they were like initially we could face some challenges, like how to initiate and how to make the children to adapt or acquaint with the technology. Even the parents, they don't know about the technology, how to initiate and how to log in the meetings like Zoom meeting, Zoho meeting, other modes of technology classes. So for that, we have taken the study for the special educators, those who already had the experience in teaching the online sessions. And next, again, we have implemented that same thing for teaching the special needs children. Next slide, please. So the purpose of my research study is to explore the special educator training's perception about the need for e-teaching children with ID. So here, when we are talking about the purpose of the study, that is perception of the special educators, we have taken certain questions like how did the e-teaching for children with ID evolve during that pandemic situation, that is from 2019. After couple of months we just initiated, because that during that 2019, that COVID situation, hardly for 3-4 months it was totally it was complete lockdown. But later on, when we planned how to engage the children in this e-teaching, the slowly how to evolve, how to involve the children. So slowly we have contacted the parents, we have taken the feedback from the parents, and just we have spoke with them. We took the convenient time, their convenient meeting, Zoho meeting or Zoom meeting or the Google meeting, whichever they are convenient to log in. And later on, again, we have searched for the questions like what challenges did the special educator trainees face while doing this e-teaching, and later on, and how and what extent the challenges were handled. So these are the 3 questions we could, not only these 3 questions, other extra questions, like it was like 10 open-ended questions we have made, and you had an open discussion method, that is the focus group interview method we have done with the 20 participants. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I would request for the next slide, please.
I think it's just coming up.
Okay.
There you
So
go.
when we are talking about the how that research study or the data collected from the participants, here the participants were like the student trainees, because to complete their even their practicum, they were involved in the online sessions to take up the activities. Here we have done a research study based on the focus group discussion method. There were 20 participants, and they were divided into 5 groups, and each group consisting of 4 participants. And this group discussion method also have done, the data collection was also done based on the purposive sampling technique. And it is a qualitative research where you can get the more of information, that is through the open-ended questions, not like qualitative quantitative, that is not like yes or no questions, so that they can give their opinion, they can give their the feedback, their other things freely, so that they can express their views. Next slide, please. So here, when we started collecting the information for data collection, we initiated with the rapport with the students, and we have taken the prior permission from the participants. And again, we have spoke with the face-to-face, and we have dealt with the students within the classroom techniques, like classroom setting. And the age group between the sample was like the student trainees, they are like from the 21 to 40 years. And there were the eligibility criteria to collect this data was like the first semester and the second semester students were not included. And here those who have already have the knowledge and has taken the 20 more than 20 online classes were included, so that they can have the knowledge how to deal and how to operate the things and how to interact with the students with the special needs. And here in the participants who already had that enough of experience dealing with the intellectual disabilities, autistic children, and children with the learning problems or the slow learners. Next slide, please. So here in the FGD, that is focus group discussion interview method, we were the 2 people, one moderator and the other one is the recorder. So when the moderator used to ask the questions from each group, and we used to take the feedback, their opinions and their experiences, and the other person used to record the things. And later on, both the moderator and the recorder used to discuss, and later on we used to get the accurate the feedback, so that we will have the proper data. Next slide, please. So here the purpose of the study, we could get the perspectives of the special educators about the need for the e-teaching. So here the purpose was explained beforehand and was confidentiality maintained. And next one, again, it was audio recorded, and later on, after discussion from the participant, we debrief the sessions immediately following the discussion, so that to uh, conclude the things about whatever the feedbacks we used to get. Then next, the session, the discussion or the interview method, it was like for 30 minutes to for the around 45 minutes to 60 minutes used to uh, have the in discussion session with the participants. The next slide, please. So these are the discussion questions we had to ask the participant and get the feedback. Next slide, please. So here the special educator perspectives, if we talk about the advantages and the disadvantages. So here when we see the advantages, like it was like increase the communication skills between in the students with intellectual disabilities. They were talking, they were communicating with the special educator, they were communicating with the parents to take the help of to operate the technology, that is the technical gadgets, whichever the laptop or the cell phones. Then next advantage was that interpersonal skills between the teacher, the parent, the well siblings, and the other fellow beings. Even they have developed the interpersonal ships between parents as well as the fellow beings also during that classroom, online classroom. And here we can see the most advantages that they have increased the student engagement over the period of time, because the children with special needs, they'll have a very less attention span and less concentration in doing the activities. So when we involve the children with special needs, we could see their increase of their engagement in the activities. Whereas if we are talking about the disadvantages, here we have seen a lot of challenges like establishing routines for the students and relying every time from the parent or the sibling support for operating the electronic gadgets, and sometimes the non-availability of teaching materials. Because of the pandemic, there were no shops, no material available for them, like ready-made material or teacher learning material was not available. So they had very less material so that they can teach to the children. The next one is like here the internet connections issues were arised during that time. So these were the disadvantages we have seen for when they are having the e-teaching for children with special needs. Next slide, please. These are the connectivity. Next slide. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about this e-teaching for students with the intellectual disabilities, talking about the advantages and the disadvantages, we have had the limitations. Like we had hardly the very few the data, that is like sample was very limited, and we have selected the sample from only for one institution. We feel like going further that we can do in a larger quantity so that we'll get authentic information, and more research must be there for conducting a larger and more diverse group of special education teachers or the student trainees. And here we can see even we cannot generalize this perspective from the other teachers, as the other general teachers can manage, whereas the special teachers need, and even the children with special needs require the hands-on experiences so that we can do the justice to the children with special needs, because they want the hands-on experience and one-to-one face-to-face experiences of the teaching so that they can improve a lot. Next slide, please. So here, when we are talking about the e-teachings for students with intellectual disabilities, today I would like to conclude that we cannot replace the e-teaching 100%. We cannot replace in place of traditional teaching, as it requires the hands-on experience, face-to-face learning and one-to-one learning, whereas the normal schools can be adapted for this remote teaching or the e-teaching. But the special needs children, they require hands-on experience. Though it was a pandemic, we could, but sometimes like it's like the advantages through this e-teaching, they have learned like self-management skills, self-monitored, self-directed, and social skill developed. And here they were even engaged in waiting for their turn, that is turn taking. These are the advantages, and they have developed all these type of skills, I feel so. So here the e-teaching does not benefit the students with ID to get some extent, but we can see that meaningful activities, and we can make them involve and engage in the meaningful activities so that they cannot develop the behavioral issues or any other temper tantrums. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any comments or questions from our chairs?
Jenny, you would like to start?
You're on mute, Jenny.
Hi, I am the mother of a paraplegic kid myself. He has severe intellectual disability. So the pandemic, I can tell you as a parent, he learned nothing staying home. He just had fun with the online calls, and he really suffered from not seeing his friends and teachers. So I agree with your finding that children with special needs, severe special needs, definitely need the personal touch. 100% online is just not possible for these kids. I agree as a parent.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think this was a very useful study you have made, though we have been listening to so many speakers on blended learning and various technology use and other things. But we can understand with this study that where is the limitation and where exactly is it possible to be applied on. I think that all. And yeah, is there a place where some training can be given to the educators also? Are there places?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Here we have I belong to the National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities, Secunderabad. I'm a faculty there and I'm a special education and special educator dealing with the children with LD, ASD, ID. But I feel that e-teaching cannot replace the traditional teacher where the student requires the physical support, the verbal prompts and all. So hands-on experience and physical education by sitting beside and making them involved. See here, the ASD children, they cannot have the eye contact. For them, this online teaching cannot work out.
No, when you said about eye contact, I would like to add on, even with in the normal class too, there is so much of eye contact, and that is where actual learning happens. We realized it on the first day when we opened the back.
Yes,
how students were, like they were totally deprived of that, and they were looking forward. They were looking forward, and we could see that kind of thirst for it. Like they were looking forward how the teachers would see them and how that eye contact, and so much of learning happens. It's not just that through technology. Of course, it is taking when there is nothing. Okay, this is one way out. But I can be very sure that there can be no such thing as replacement to whatever was the traditional learning, and especially in the case of this. And ma'am, what is the age group of the children to whom you are referring to in the study?
Study 11 years to 18 years, ma'am. 11 years to 18 years. They are from the special school. We have the special school down. Okay. They're from the secondary class to the pre-vocational and NOS classes. So these 3 class groups we have taken for the study.
Okay.
So that they can follow the instructions and can operate by themselves if parents are not there or any other siblings are not there to support them. They can also have that. So they have developed some of them develop even the self-management skills also.
And after your specific years of training, do they get some kind of a skill to manage on their own? They can make their earning, they can make their living?
That is above 18 years, they will have the vocational training, where we will give the vocational training in our institute. For after training, they'll be placed in a job placement and they'll be given opportunity to earn for themselves.
Okay. I think there is a lot of dedication required from the educators also. Yes. It is not so easy. Everybody cannot do this.
It requires a lot of patience and work with the children. Now, each one is unique. Each child is unique. We have to go down it's like going into their shoes. We need to work with them.
Okay. We are happy that we have come across somebody like you. Any other questions?
Yeah, are there any questions from the audience that we'd like to cover? Right. I'm not seeing any at this point. And thank you so much, Yula, Susan, Patnam, for covering this for us. I'm really impressed with the work.
Thank you, Siltra team and Splendor for giving me this opportunity to present my paper. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. So moving on, we did have a third paper. Unfortunately, we are unable to cover the third and the last paper that we had, but we do want to share at least the topic. A fantastically interesting topic. This paper was going to be presented by Sri Krishna Akleya on transgender men and menstruation, which I think would have really added some color on our topic of future of education and being inclusive. Since we're not able to cover this with a presentation, you can still find the materials on the Silray website. We will be uploading it. So if you find this interesting, please go and do check it out. That's all I have to cover in terms of our paper presentations. Janani and Lalita ma'am, thank you so much for being here and interacting with our participants. Are there any comments that you'd like to share before we move on and officially close our paper presentation section?
I think some of the papers were given to us for review. We have gone through. Very detailed research study has been done, which really gave a lot of insight. And I think it would have been nice if they were here to present those papers. I don't know what is the background. Some of it, like even with this differentiated instructions, what we went through was interesting. So again, experience in from Teach for India. That was yet another research paper which was given to us, which had a lot of inputs about how teachers face various difficulties. Actually, here, what is very important for any person in any field to know is, within very short time, it was only this community which was able to make a paradigm shift to whatever we were in our process of teaching to what happened within very short time. I think no other field would have seen such a drastic challenge and change. That way, I think every teacher needs to be very much appreciated, and a big round of applause to be given to all the teaching community for this particular factor. That everybody raised to the occasion. There was no scope at all otherwise. So whether it, any kind of child required some learning. And even after all that challenge the teachers faced, we hear so many research studies which are telling us that there has been a learning gap of more than 2 years, 3 years sometimes. Especially in the rural setup, there has been a large gap. I think all educators, we take this responsibility that it is necessary for us to make sure this gap is somewhere filled, at least in the next 1 or 2 years, so that, we don't go down on our education, scale. Otherwise, it is going to be a big mark on it. And then, education is the base for any other development too. So if this is not properly developing, then it has its own impact on all other fields too. And that is one thing which I really felt the need, and research studies are very clearly proving that, in fact, the example what was quoted was, say, a 5th standard child was able to read and understand at the 3rd standard level only, though the child is now in 5th. So these are things which are really alarming to any one of us as educators, that there is a need, more responsibility that we need to show now in order to make sure that this gap is as much as possible, narrowed down and not allowing it to widen. With this opening of the, economy and opening of the schools and institutions, we should be able to. And another observation I felt was there were more of issues at the school levels up to 10th and 1 or 2 up to 12th. But there are other and even more different kind of challenges we face even after they come into the higher education study, where again, there are too many distractions among the students, and it is difficult for us to bring them into the line and focus them into the study, because the kind of Distractions are totally different at that stage. And here, at least up to the stage of 10th, teacher becomes the ultimate guru, and what teacher says is accepted in a much easier manner. But at the level beyond the 12th, say age of 18 plus, teacher is more like, unless the teacher is like a friend, that friendly nature is accepted. Otherwise, a teacher may not be even accepted there. So I think with our MC, youngster will be able to understand what I'm saying. So we find it difficult. There are lots of challenges. Because the general viewpoint is, oh, what are you? Oh, teacher, it's okay. That, I mean, not given the due value, but there are so many challenges teachers face. And this pandemic, though there were so many disadvantages and so many things, demerits happen. But one thing, everybody across sections of the society, everybody felt the need for this schools and colleges to be, say, functioning and students going there. Even many parents face the challenge of taking care of the children within this time of 9 to 4, where they know very well children are very safe for the institution. So that way there were several things which happened. Anyway, thank you so much to this entire group, who Silray and Splendor conference, where an opportunity was given where I could speak out what was in my mind also about it. And as I said, the papers were really interesting. I think over to Janani now. I should not be taking another time. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Lalita. Yeah, like Dr. Lalita said, we had such interesting papers coming up. Unfortunately, some of them were not presented. Yeah, there was especially some papers about transgender kids, especially in India, where we worship transgender gods, but don't even give them the basic human rights as people. And as a mother of a special child and another gifted child, I know how people look at people or parents with special children. I'm always given condolences for having a special child. He is not looked upon as a child. He is not to be looked upon as a person who gives me joy in life, but I am to be pitied for having a special needs child. This is the attitude of our society. And yet we look at big problems like, how do we teach special needs kids at home? That will be a simple solution, right? You can give a keyboard to a visually challenged person and suddenly life is rosy again. No, there is no simple problem for a complicated, especially social, educational problem. And as a parent and somebody who studied AI, I can see the problems on both sides. The more time girls spend online, the more time they're going to get sucked into Facebook or Instagram. And I'm also the mother of a girl child. I never want her to have an Instagram account. And to hear teachers saying, oh, we want them to post Instagram stories. Please don't do that. Keep them away. I have a unique perspective on this because I did some of those apps. I did self-driving cars. I know where things can go wrong. I would never sit in the passenger side of a self-driving car that uses Google Maps because I know how many times it can crash. I've made those cars. So I also have the perspective of a mother. And when I see a transgender kid, somebody who's not transgender advocating to have hygiene products in every toilet, that should be the last step. The first step should be the parents accepting that child. And the second step would be the teachers accepting that child. And then the other students seeing that child as a fellow human being. And then you can put it in a public place where they can be attacked. That should not be the first step. So there should be a change, a paradigm shift in the way we think about complicated problems. How can you help visually impaired children? How can you help special needs children? when you don't understand the problem area where it begins at home and at school, in the classroom. So to hear so many wonderful teachers and so many interested parents, this was wonderful for especially a parent going through those challenges. And the pandemic was not rosy for most of us. Anybody who says technology is all great, frankly, doesn't understand the technology. I have made some of those technologies, so please don't say everything is rosy with the technology side. Keep your eye on the little kids and keep them away from Facebook and Instagram if you can. Yeah, it was great. I am I'm feeling optimistic and encouraged by meeting with such great people. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you both. I mean, these are some really powerful thoughts and powerful experiences, personal experiences that you have drawn from. And I think that's what really adds value to the bullet points, to the ideas that you've shared with us. This conference itself is it's a fantastic way to debate this, to have these conversations, to bring new perspectives, technology versus not technology, how to use it in a way that would actually be beneficial. What are some of the pitfalls that we need to be aware of? So I'm really, really amazed at the amount of kind of ideas that are pouring in through various speakers, and I think the variety of backgrounds that we are hearing from has really added, at least to my own personal learning from this conference. Thank you so much for both of you. I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is, of course, as you can see on the slide, reflections. It's been a fantastic ride since morning, at least for me, afternoon for you, since we started hearing from our very first speaker, Raji, and then Sharda ma'am after. Thank you to all of those who came out to share your work with us and your thoughts with us. And a special thanks, of course, to all our delegates. I'd love to take a little peek into your brains now to see how you enjoyed this session. What are your key takeaways? So again, let's look to Menti to get this started. So same drill, you've all done this before several times. Go to menti.com or scan the QR code if you'd like to join us really quickly. And yes, we've also posted the link on the chat. So let's get started. So here's what we need to do. We've posted here a few statements about this conference, about the content that was covered in this conference. So all you'd really need to do is tell us where you are feeling, about these statements. Did you enjoy the range of topics that were covered? Did you feel like you gained some new perspectives, something disruptive? Remember, like we said, it's one of our code of conducts, disruptive ideas. We had a good range of topics for discussion. Are you looking forward to more? Because there's another whole day of this that is being planned for you. And if you'd like to give kudos to our wonderful Silray team, this is an opportunity for you to do it. I think there's somebody who's not on mute. Can I just remind everybody to be on mute? Thank you. So we'll wait for a few more responses before we can look at it together. But guys, these are fantastic scores. I'm really glad that all of you are joining me in congratulating the Silray team for putting this together. Right. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and reflections with us. We are now at the end of the session, but before we go, I have an exciting proposition for all of you, a chance to interact with our delegates almost one-on-one in the virtual breakout rooms. In a few moments, you will see a breakout rooms icon appear at the end of your Zoom window. That's what it looks like. So if you click on the icon, you will see a list of rooms that are available for you to join. You can visit more than one room. So if you're interested in speaking to more than one delegate, you can move in and out of the rooms. So feel free to do that. And at the end of time, you will be brought back to the main room automatically. But thank you so much for being here with us. Over to the breakout rooms as you would like to interact with our delegates. Again, if you'd like to know how to join a breakout room, you will see a breakout rooms icon at the end of your Zoom window. All you need to do is click on it to see the rooms that are available and the various speakers and delegates who are waiting to interact with you. So please select join and you will be automatically taken to the room that you've selected, and you can move again in and out if you wish to speak to more than one delegate.
While we are waiting, here we also have a member from the Silray team, Sujata. Sujata, let me unmute you. Okay. Okay, she's unable to unmute. Sujata is a very creative person and she wanted to share her work with the rest of the audience. Sujata, if you can unmute, I'm just sending you a request.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I've done it.
Great. Over to you, Sujata. I'm just sharing your work. You can share your thoughts.
So thank you so much for Silray for giving me this opportunity. So we are from Creative Buzz. Let me introduce ourselves, what we believe and what we deal with. So we believe in, like, it's one thing to create and another thing to give the experience of what we create, the creation. So we have the object of the Creative Buzz is to create trendy, handmade, eco-friendly products in all range of varieties. All means is overall range of varieties. Like our products are from accessories to home decor and everything. So here I am Sujata and she's my sister Supraja. We both do together. So Supraja, we will overtake the. Hi, this is Supraja. The ideas and designs of Creative Buzz are went from strings and yarns to bring a trendy, traditional, handmade touch to our ambience. Here we go with some of our products. Since it is trendy and traditional, first we'll start up with our girly things. Like earrings is a triangle earrings. Can you see? Like it. So these are earrings we made with crochet and threads. And this is a jasmine earrings. And we also have shoes. Is a like it's a home shoes, like you can wear at home. Woolen one. And it's a beautiful rose earring. So if you can see on the screen as well, we have range of products. Like you can, the gift articles is also there and accessories is also there. And which one? What are the products? And we also deal with traditional games using eco-friendly material like this one. So it's a traditional game. It's called tic-tac-toe. It's a mind game. And this one is done by, this one is done by a hand embroidery work. So it is very close to me, and not only for me and all the customers of Creative Buzz, because I do remember one of my customers, she's a parent, she wants to give a return gift for her daughter's birthday. So she was thinking that instead of just for a namesake or giving a return gift, it should be very useful. So she has approached me and she chosen this product, this tic-tac-toe. It comes with the coins, counters as well. And she is really happy, and not only she, even the guest also very, very happy with the return gifts, because it's a mind game and children is very, very useful for the children as well. And it's basically indoor and it's a portable one, so you can carry anywhere. It's not like it doesn't occupy any space in your luggages as well. What else? Oh. It's an ongoing project. It's like a pocket shawl, which is trendy in US and UK now. It's a pocket shawl. You should wear it like this. And here pockets will be there, so you can hold your hands there. So basically we are dealing with traditional art. So we are reviving the traditional art that is possible by creating this product. And one more thing is we have traditional, we have more trendy products. We can explore this tradition art by making trendy products. So this is one complete satisfaction we have while creating these products. And in crochet or whatever thread works, when you are working with it, no, it's not only increasing the concentration, it also it's like a color therapy. Basically, you'll be working with the colors and your concentration fully on that, and it's really reduces the anxiety and many more things like blood pressure, everything. Even I am so surprised after getting into this only, even I came to know. It's really, I'm so happy that I'm working with the products, I mean, kind of handmade products. It really gives a self-satisfaction, soul satisfaction, which I can say. And in screen also you can see some posters and keychains, and even the iPod's holder is also there. So each and everything we can make it out of threads. And the products, and the main thing about the threads, it's like the threads what we are using, it's not a color fade one, and it's like a lightweight. When you come for accessories and all, no, it's like lightweight, and you don't have a fear of will it get break or something for rough use and all. Thoroughly you can use this like anything, no, roughly you can use it. And of course these and all, if you see in this screen, image, this is a lotus coaster, we say. This one you can decorate when you have a puja or something, any celebrations which you have, special occasions that you can, and keychains, small things and all you have. It's like from small to big. And we are so happy that we also received a most innovative award in recently conducted MOP Bazaar. So that is like, it gives us the pride that we can create more innovative products using this. It can be customized to your needs and colors. Like if you take the example for your attires, you can mix match the colors as you require, the designs. We have we can explore through these products is like a huge amount. So that is what the benefit we also enjoy doing, making these products. And as a personal connection to our country and the work we do, every year we used to do Rakis handmade using these products, and we sent it to our soldiers. So that's a very soul completing work we are enjoying through this work. So thank you so much for everyone for listening to it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujata. And everybody. Actually, it's time actually come now for me to say thank you and wrap up this edition of Splendor 2021. I just want to say personally, for me, it's been a fantastic experience just being in the presence of well, so many wonderful educators, people in this field who are doing fantastic work. All the paper presentations, the fireside chat that we had with Vidya, the panel discussion that we've had, and also hearing from Sharda ma'am earlier on, and hearing about Mitra for Life. Altogether, my heart is full, and it's been truly an honor to be your MC and interact with all of you today. Just want to say thank you, and I hope I can see you again later on for another session of Splendor 2021. Thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.
Okay, we are still having people in the breakout room. I'm just going to close it right now, and they might take a minute to come back.
No worries.
Probably
No
close it
worries.
again once they are here.
Bring them all together and close. No problem. Excellent. Welcome back to the main room for all of you who've been away in breakout rooms. I'll just give it maybe 10 more seconds for everyone else to come back here. Just want to say a few thank yous before we all part ways for now. Okay, am I right in understanding that everyone is now back in the main room? Are there anyone?
I think there's still people. I think we have another. Yes, I think now everybody should be joining back. Maybe another 5-10 seconds. And
no
yes,
problem.
Yes, I think everybody is back.
All right, welcome everybody from your breakout rooms. The time has now come for me to say my thank yous and goodbyes for now. I just wanted to say personally, this is the first time that I'm interacting with people who are in this field. I come from a corporate background myself, so it's been just a lovely and truly enriching experience for me. I've certainly picked up a few insights and new perspectives on technology, learning, and just the various pieces of work that are going in to make this happen for the children and for the future. So straight up from Sharda ma'am's opening talk on learning many ways, to the panel discussion we've had, to the fireside chat, and also to learn about Mitra for Life, all of that I would certainly take back. And I hope as our audience and our delegates, this was just as enriching for you. I guess I just have thank yous left to say, and look forward to seeing you on another session with Splendor 2021. Thank you and have a lovely evening, everybody.
Thank you, Satya.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you and bye-bye.